What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Chris and Gio here, coming to you from Beyond the Veil. Got a little bit of a different kind of show for you tonight. It was a video that I happened to just stumble across. Cherie and I had an amazing night last night, and it just came totally organic, and it happened to be Halloween, one of my favorite days. We went deep into some experiences, really reconnected, very sensual experiences. Lots of great sex, and it was phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal. We haven't slept, so we're still a little bit halfway there. But I came across this video, 10 tiny gestures that make girls melt instantly, and these turn women on. And I tried one of them on Cherie, and the result was astonishing. Yeah. And so I was like, let's go through these, from a male-female perspective. A lot of it has to do with like chivalry and things like that. And I wanted to try to keep the show short. There were a couple of other things that I wanted to get into. People are asking me what I feel about Elon Musk. So after this, we'll try to get to that question, and then maybe for the Patreon section, I told Cherie we'd only be on for about 45 minutes. But if we do decide to do a Patreon section, I did want to talk about some of the recent revelations and visions that we've had in our experiences. You know which ones I'm talking about with the cats and everything like that. And see if anybody else has had any similar experiences like that.
Yes, that's really important to me on a personal level, because as we move through, the last couple of years, it's just been really incredible how many people have told us, oh my gosh, I had that exact same dream a few nights ago, or oh my gosh, I've been thinking the exact same thing that you're thinking, when it's something that's completely non-conventional and not against the mainstream, but it's not featured in the mainstream. So there's no real reason why so many people would be having the exact same types of dreams, or almost the exact same dream in word for word as other people that they don't see in regular everyday life. I think it's indicative of something happening on like a universal consciousness level. I'm not saying we're all one and all that stuff. What I'm saying is there's something in the ether that's giving us these messages. We would like to know how many of you have also experienced this.
Similar messages.
Yes, similar messages being given.
Let's save that for the Patreon section. Also,
for sure.
Elephant Tusk said that he sent us an email about the Cecil from somebody who lives at the Cecil. That's a whole nother topic for another show, but if you can let me know in the chat what email you sent it to, that way I can keep an eye out for it, because I definitely want to read that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And Alyssa said in the Patreon section, it said 10 things that drive women crazy. That's what I thought the title of the video was, but the title of the video actually is 10 tiny gestures that make girls melt instantly. And I was
Not
like,
hard to do.
Oh, okay, cool. So I was literally laying on the couch, and we were just, decompressing from our experience last night. It's 1 p.m. now, so we went hard and deep and hardcore, everything like that. I hope I'm not speaking too openly about what's been going on, but Cherie has had a lot of internal issues that have been problematic over the last year and a half. And those have been corrected. They were corrected in June. They got you on hormones now, which they put me on hormones several years ago. I've got the vitality of a 20-year-old. Your vitality last night, it's been so long since you've just grabbed me and just like ripped the clothes off of me. I was like, oh my God, what happened to my twin? Yeah. They'd given you a certain shot that goes along with the hormones. And I've talked about hormones before, how important it is to get those rebalanced. There's some controversy though, because it does make you more susceptible to cancer later on. And when I talked to my doctor about raising my testosterone back to where I was 20 and even higher than that, and getting my estrogen down and all of that, I said, said, look, I'd rather live a happier life now than a longer life miserable.
Exactly.
And he said, as long as you understand the risks, you know, I'll give you what you're asking for. And it's changed my life. But there is that risk factor. Same with women's hormones as well. There is that risk factor as well. So nothing is
risk-free,
100% safe or risk-free. But there was a shot that they give you to take home, which is very similar to like Cialis, Viagra, Levitra for men, but it's for women.
Right.
What is that?
It's called Vyleesi, and it's Vyleesi for those women out there who, for me, it's not that I, suddenly just, wasn't interested in sex. It was more, over the last several years with all the issues I've had, internal organ kinds of issues, especially reproductive issues that I've had over the last several years, it's decreased my libido to, it's not that I'm not, attracted to Chris. It's not that I don't want to do these things with him. It's that my body isn't responding the same way it used to. And so they put me on this, they gave me these shots, and it's basically pretty much the same thing as Cialis or anything like that, where you take one shot. You can only take one a week, but you take one shot, and then you've got 8 to 12 hours of playtime ahead. And there was definitely playtime.
There was 8 to 12 hours of playtime. It was incredible. And I'll take the occasional Cialis or Viagra, something like that, just because it gives me a little bit of an extra boost. Not that I need it, but it gives me an extra boost. And when you want to go for 8-12 hours, I have to keep up with that. But the way that you were last night, I was like, oh my God, this is a completely different person. Completely different person. And I realized one of the main issues with relationships is that you have to keep the intimacy going.
Oh, yeah.
I remember asking this elderly couple one time, they were celebrating their 50th anniversary. I said, what's the secret? And they said, you got to fall in love with each other over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, we've been through our ups and downs. We've been through our places where we've fallen out of love with each other. We've been in our places where we fall back in love with each other. Right. That's the natural ebb and flow of a relationship, especially a twin flame relationship. Yeah. So if you're experiencing that in your relationships, then it's natural. You don't want to stay in a toxic relationship. You don't want to stay in a relationship where that ebb and flow isn't there and it's always on the down.
Or it's damaging.
Or it's damaging. But, it takes work. It takes work to have good, solid relationships. And I think really good sex helps tremendously.
I think actually I would go so far as to say, even if you are unable to have intercourse and things like that, you have to keep that life between you guys alive somehow, in some way. There's always some way to be sensual with your partner. There's always some way you can connect with your partner on other levels. However, after a certain period of time, it does become extremely frustrating. And I think once they, did this surgery, I felt a lot better. Then they put me on these hormones. I feel a million times better. Now they're actually going to add testosterone in a couple weeks, which I think there's a lot of books that have been written about this, but women actually do need testosterone to a certain extent in order to feel good, in order to feel healthy, in order to feel young. Women actually do need the testosterone as well. It's a little more complicated, but it is necessary. So once they do that, then I'm really going to be like,
I'm all
get
for
in bed,
it.
take off your pants.
We're finally synced up as far as that goes. I'm
so glad.
Happy about that. I hope we're not sharing too much of our own personal journey, but
the
reason that we're sharing the personal journey is because if others are experiencing similar issues, it's not the end of the relationship. It's not the end of the world. There are the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs that come along with it, and there's things that you can do. But like I said, everything has a risk. So be careful, be diligent, and do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line here. Let's jump real quick to this video because this is kind of a BTV Reacts kind of video. And so this is 10 tiny gestures that make girls melt instantly. I thought it was 10 things that make girls go crazy. And I posted that on Patreon. But I tried this, the first one on Cherie. I'll play this, and then you can tell me what your reaction to that was. Tom, thank you for the super chat. Much love,
thank
brother.
you, Tom.
Much love. Okay, so let me turn that up. Okay, so here we go.
Before I dive into this video, I wanted to reveal one bonus gesture that always melts my heart. The gesture of good t-shirt.
Okay, that's a sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
All right, here are the 10 gestures that make a girl melt.
There you go.
Number 1, hold her face as you kiss her. And God, this is so freaking sexy. If my man holds my face and kisses me passionately with like good eye contact, it's almost like I'm transported to a different world. And most girls are going to feel exactly the same way. This little gesture, which any guy can do, drives us completely wild. Not like grab her face though, like gently. Hold her face. It shows dominance and confidence that we cannot help but be turned on by. So try it the next time that you kiss a girl and just watch how much she enjoys it.
Now, this is not PC, obviously. No. This is old school chivalry that we're talking about here. But I was laying on the couch and I said, "Hey, sweetie, come here." And you said, "What?" And, you know, you were kind of groggy and, you know, ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I grabbed your face and I kissed you. What did you feel when I did that?
Okay, there were a range of emotions that I felt. First, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, and then that, you know, a saying came to mind about hugs. It felt like a hug of my face, you know, with his hands, and that he was enveloping me in a sense, with love, with compassion, with, you know, that love was evident. You could feel that love coming from you. And then you know, the saying about hugs is that people like to be hugged because it puts a barrier around the pain of life or whatever you're going through at the time. And instead of focusing on the various aches and pains that, you know, that were going on at the time, I was transported to a place where that didn't exist. Even for those 2 or 3 seconds that we were making out on the couch, none of that existed and none of that was relevant.
And you know what was really interesting is as we were in sync last night, I was just automatically rubbing places that I knew hurt. And without you saying anything at all. It was the most flowy, organic evening that we've had in a long time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a single instance of pain, and the pain was just naturally addressed by being in each other's frequencies and vibing at the same frequency.
Right. And
it was incredible. But I tried this technique on her and she just melted.
Not only did it work, it did even more than it did for this person, I think. On a very deep level.
Yeah. So that's when I was like, you want to go do a quick little show? Because let's get a woman's perspective. And also, I want to know the ladies in the chat, too. If your man grabbed you by the face like that and kissed you really passionately, would you have those same feelings? Michelle O'Rourke, she said that her boyfriend told her that she loved her yesterday on her birthday for the first time. So congratulations.
First, I love you.
I had a feeling like somebody needs to hear these things.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to hear these things. So,
that's always the case. Yeah, somebody needs to hear.
And you guys were sober in totally only hormones? Are we ever sober?
Are we ever completely sober? Yeah.
We're beyond the veil.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one. Let's go to the next one here. The next one is...
All right, number 2. Hug her unexpectedly in public. And so what I mean is, while you're out together in public, put your arm around her in an affectionate way, or bring her close and squeeze tight like she's just so itty-bitty, and let her sort of melt into you. And this is super adorable and something most girls would never ask for, but trust me, we absolutely love it because it makes us feel safe and cared for and wanted. And honestly, we wish you guys did it more often. All right, number 3, opening door.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So number 2, holding in public. It's something we've always done.
We've always
done this. But is that something that you think that if you were on a first date with somebody, would you want them to do that? I mean, when you and I met, we
were automatically making out within 2 seconds.
10 minutes, we were
and within 10 minutes
tearing each other's clothes off in the truck.
In the truck of all places. Like it didn't feel like the typical making out in a truck and ripping each other's clothes off in a truck. That was not what it felt like. What it felt like was a reunion that had been 10,000 years in the making. That's what it felt like to me.
Can you move segment?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Nobody can see you. All they see is big cat butt.
I know. I felt like it was an ancient reunion that was going on and that was taking place, and where we were at, whether we were in a car or not in a car or outside, it didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was that this reunion had taken so long to happen, and that this was a pinnacle it was a milestone of our life together. It was a huge milestone, and I saw it as that. But then ever since, yes, we've always been very affectionate in public, and sometimes I think we've made people jealous or made people feel uncomfortable, just because we're so. It's not that we're it's PDA for the sake of PDA. We're together so closely that it's just second nature for me to put my arm around, hook my arm around, his arm.
It's a safety thing too.
It's
like,
it
if
is
I've got
also
my
a
arm
safety
around
thing.
you. Usually, like when we're walking in a public area, I will hold you with your purse in between both of us.
That's right.
And what I'm doing is not only holding you close, but I'm also protecting you. Another thing for you guys out there, this is very old school, doesn't really apply in this day and age, but it's still something that a true gentleman knows. When you're walking down the street, the woman is always supposed to be on the left-hand side. You're supposed to be on the street side. And that comes from the early 1900s, where if a woman was walking on the right side of the road, closest to the street, it meant that she was a working girl and a prostitute. But it's just something, that carried over with chivalry. So when we walk down the street, I've always got you on the left. I've got the street next to me. It's also said to come from, in case like a runaway carriage got in the way, the man will be in the way to protect the woman.
Right.
Things like that, protect her from obstacles, or in this day and age, if you're walking down the sidewalk and somebody comes through and splashes a big puddle of water, it's gonna get on the man and not the woman. So that's the reason why the woman walks on the left.
Exactly.
Again, these are old school things, and feminists would disagree with me, even though realistically, I looked up the definition of a feminist, and I also saw Dave Chappelle doing a similar skit, but I legitimately looked up the definition of feminist, and I realized that I'm actually a feminist myself. I believe in equal rights. I believe in everything that feminists believe in. But they've changed the definition of feminism so much, and it's come like third wave, fourth wave, et cetera, to where it's basically cutting men's balls off.
Right.
And, this is how we get these sissy society of everybody will go and put on face diapers and close their businesses down for a 99.98% survival rate because everybody's just scared, and you just create this whole, and Gen Z, I got the shit beat out of me as a kid, and it wasn't fun. I think there could have been a little balance there, but there were a few times where my mom got the switch, and she would make me go out and get my own switch sometimes. And Gen Z was never spanked.
You can tell.
And you can tell.
Spanked.
And so 10
been.
years ago, I was like, no, spanking kids is horrible. And then I see Gen Z, and I'm like, I think some of these kids need to get the switch.
They need discipline, is what they need, and their parents aren't teaching their kids discipline anymore.
But this is all part of the demasculization of the male and the masculinization of the female. under the auspices of raising the divine feminine, but that's not what the divine feminine is. First of all, the divine feminine is part of consciousness. It has nothing to do with gender roles. But number two, all you're doing is just switching out quote unquote toxic masculinity for toxic femininity.
Totally.
And it's just, it's the same thing that's happening, and they just keep flipping the script over and over and over again. I was really pleased to hear a lot of pundits starting to use the term anti-white racism. And that's really great, because that's really what it is. It's anti-white racism that the left has been spewing. And so hearing more and more pundits come out and talk about that by that term is refreshing. Because racism is racism, but they're pushing anti-white racism. So nothing's really changed with the Democratic Party or the people who are pushing this leftist agenda. They just switched it out. Instead of being racist against black people, now they're racist against white people. But race has always been a dividing factor. Same with gender roles as well. In my humble opinion, and forgive me if I'm speaking out of line here, but men are built different. And because we're built different, we take the trash out. We do the heavy lifting.
Right.
Things like that. It just, you're not going to send an 80-pound, 90-pound female out to go push big piles of trash, even though you have in the past when I've fallen asleep too early on trash day.
Rarely.
And yeah, but you have, though. But it's the man's role, just because we're bigger like that. It's the man's role to be the protector as well. If somebody comes running up to you and attacks you, you don't hide behind the woman and expect the woman to be the protector and the savior and everything like that in that situation. And I've seen situations where guys hide behind their women and use their women as like
human shields. That's exactly.
And it's like,
what
what the hell's going on here? It's like it's basic instinct for me to push the woman out of the way and get in front of whatever danger there is. When we were in Egypt and we were in Abydos, remember when we were almost shot in the desert? I was like, all right, you walk 6 feet behind me. And it's funny because the 6 feet thing came back around in 2020. But I was like, walk 6 feet away from me. I'm going to walk next to this guy. If this guy pulls his gun in any weird manner, I at least have an opportunity to do something about it. You're 6 feet away. You have an opportunity to run away. So that was our plan. And she was live streaming covertly so people could see what was going on Facebook. But would the dynamic have been better the other way, with you having to take on the gunman and me standing 6 feet away ready to run away? No. So I don't think there's any issue with those quote unquote gender roles, but the left would have you believe otherwise. What do you think?
I think that you're totally right, and it's almost unheard of in our society nowadays to stand up for women. I mean, I'm not stand up for women, but it's a multifaceted problem. The main problem, I think, is the feminism issue, because feminism has taken this turn into Insanityville, where just a man opening a door for you is offensive, or somebody telling you you're beautiful is offensive. Everything is harassment. Everything is offensive, and thus guys are kind of at a loss at this point. They're like, okay, so do you want me to be nice to you and then have you accuse me of harassment, or do you want me to be dismissive of you? And a lot of men have resorted to being dismissive of women in general, just simply because they think all women are like that. It's kind of the same idea that, some of these people think that all men are bad, all men are evil, all men are terrible people.
That reminds me of this meme that I put up on the screen: flirting versus harassment.
Yeah.
That dress looks sexy on you. And then the other guy, that dress looks sexy on you.
Yeah, exactly. It all depends on looks and things like that when it comes to that. Women are a typical woman is not going to be offended by you opening doors for her at all. They're going to feel special.
That's the next one we're getting into.
Yeah.
So let me get into that real
Oh, I
quick,
thought
and
you
then
had
we'll
already
jump into the open
jumped
doors
into
things.
that one.
Number
I
3,
apologize.
opening doors. I know that this one can be a little bit controversial, and I know this is also very cliche.
And you see how she has to go into this is all controversial.
Like apologists
Why is
about
this?
it.
Why is this controversial? Like, why is it controversial? It should not be controversial.
No.
But it's also very endearing to us women because it doesn't happen very often. When a man opens a door for us, it once again makes us feel secure and cared for. Plus, a man who does this also demonstrates that he's a leader. He's a man, someone who takes charge, and that's incredibly sexy. That's exactly the type of man women want the most. I remember when I had this done for me the first time. I was in my early 20s and on a date with the man that I later ended up marrying, so obviously it worked. He was the first and last man to ever open a door for me, and I remember thinking, I'm a totally independent woman, but I kind of like this. And it made me feel super feminine. And so yes, while this move is a complete cliche, if you want to melt a woman's heart and show that you're someone she can rely on, doing this would be in your best interest. All right, number 4.
Okay, so opening doors. That's one of my big things. I open the doors for strangers. I open the door for you all the time. What pisses me off sometimes, though, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to put this out here and put Shuri on blast here, is if we're in the middle of an argument and we're in public, she will wait by the door for me to open it while we're arguing.
Well,
and I'm like, we're arguing. Okay, I'm not going to open the door for you. I still wind up doing it anyways.
Just because we're
But
arguing
she'll
doesn't
wait
mean-
by the door like this. And then I'll go get the door.
Because you get irritated if I don't let you open the door. And so I thought, that's just, no matter what's going on, you open doors for women because that's part and parcel of being, a man. And
I open doors for
so
everybody.
You open doors for everybody.
Yeah,
I've noticed that.
One thing, and
Very
ladies
courteous.
and gentlemen, you let me know in the chat what you think about this, because this is something I haven't really been able to wrap my head around. So I have some friends who are multimillionaires, some that are going on their way to becoming billionaires. And I notice when they walk in, other people open the door for them. They walk first. And I am just an old school gentleman, and I will open the door for anybody regardless of their status. And I think what really shows character in a man is how he treats the janitor and how he treats the CEO. And if he treats them both the same, then he's got really strong character.
Right.
So I will open the door for the CEO. I will open the door for the janitor. I'm just a gentleman like that. But I notice that a lot of people who are up there in status, they seem to walk ahead of everybody rather than behind. Where when I'm out with a party of people, and especially if people are not as successful as we are, I let them walk first. When I'm out with Cherie, we either walk together or she walks first. Mm-hmm. That is a protective thing, because if I can watch the front, I can watch your back too. Mm-hmm. And if anything comes up from the back, then they have to go through me first to create a situation. So that's a protective thing. But what do you do in that situation? Have you guys seen this where people of higher status don't open doors, other people open doors for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Does that lower you in class, in the social circle? Because I found myself doing that for people, and people of higher caliber. And it's not because I see them as a higher caliber. It's just because I'm just a gentleman like that. What do you think?
I think that I don't know if it speaks to a person's character in that situation. I think in a way, people that have made it to a certain stage in life where they are, making much more money than they have in their life, and they're constantly having people open their doors for them anyway, constantly having people all are surrounding him that are doing things for him. I think either one, giving him the benefit of the doubt, that it's the case where he's just not thinking, because usually other people just open his door and that's not, it just doesn't occur to him. Or number two, it could also be, the case where he is expecting people, not of, at a lower station, but people who are more of, his, employee / friends, or, people that are friends of his, that are, that consult him for things that he has more expertise on. They, it's not that they expect it, but they're appreciative of that.
Because I was wondering if I need to start mirroring that mannerism.
I would,
but it just seems, with all due respect to my friends,
to that person,
it seems douchey.
It's not that it's douchey; it's that it's inconsiderate, and it's not. Even if I'm at a gas station and I open the door to go out and I see somebody struggling to walk, I will hold the door open for them all day long. If it's just a regular person walking in and out, I probably don't hold the door for them. No. If it's another female, actually, there are different mitigating circumstances that change the way we behave in social settings. If it's another female, especially if it's an older female, I understand what she's probably going through, so I hold the door open for them for sure.
Okay.
That's just a matter of elders, respecting one's elders.
In this day and age, they're trying to say the third wave or fourth wave or fifth wave feminism, whatever the hell it is trying to say that that's the man allowing the women to enter.
They call that microaggression.
Microaggression, yeah. And I got to tell you, there's only been one time that I ever ran into this situation, and this was with somebody that I was hanging out with. Mm-hmm. And I had to explain to her, I'm opening the door because I'm an old school gentleman, and that's something that's never going to go away from me.
I'm courteous,
I was, my grandfather was Castellano, and he was just, old school Italian gentleman like that. And he instilled those values in me. So if it offends you, sorry. It's meant to show you respect, not to offend you. And she got it. And deep down inside, I think every woman likes that, regardless of what their stance are. But that's why she's going on about how controversial it is, because they've literally embedded this into people's minds that men are opening doors because they're allowing the women to go in, and it's microaggression instead of it being a sign of respect and courtesy as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that along with manspreading, the whole idea of manspreading, the whole idea of, microaggression in general, that doesn't ring true to me. It just simply doesn't. Every male that I've ever run across when I'm out and about shopping or whatever, it seems like the nicest ones, the ones that have the best energy, the ones that I don't feel dirty being, in the same vicinity of, they're the ones that open doors for people. And it doesn't matter if they're a male, female, old, young, they will hold the door open for somebody if they see somebody, coming towards the door.
In day-to-day life, I have never, ever, ever had a woman say anything negative about me opening a door for her in public.
That's
a stranger, never, ever, ever. I've never seen this fourth wave feminism come through and go, well, you open the door for me because nothing. It's always been thank you. Right.
Robin pointed out a good fact. Deranged women who are these women that are the microaggressors.
That's a good point.
That's a lot of microaggression right there, thinking that just because a man opened a door for you, that it has this ulterior motive of not wanting you to go in.
That's a good point.
Like allowing you? No, that doesn't even make sense.
Okay, so let's move on to this next one because I don't want to stay too long on this topic.
Yeah, please.
Introduce her to people. When you are out with her in public, like with friends and colleagues and family members and so on, take the time to introduce her to them. This shows her that you appreciate her. She's part of you and you want people to know about it. You're proud to have her by your side. And when she notices that, she is going to be thrilled and she's going to appreciate you a lot for it. Once again, it's a very simple thing. Seems like no big deal, but to a woman, this can mean a lot. All right, number 5.
I can relate to this. There were people I was hanging out with and they weren't introducing me around. And I was like, am I an accessory?
Right. Or are you embarrassed? Are you embarrassed of you?
No, I didn't think they were embarrassed, but am I like just like this disposable, friend that just happens to be there?
Yeah. And you're not important enough to introduce.
And oddly enough, it was a feminist that was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like taking this and turning it backwards. Mm-hmm. And so but what do you think about that? You're out with the guy. I mean, obviously we've been together for many years.
Whenever I was dating back in the day,
yeah,
it would make me feel like this person. It would make me feel like this person's embarrassed of me, doesn't want to introduce me to his friends or his colleagues because either one, he hasn't told them a word about me, and they have no idea who I am, already, and number two, that this person doesn't care enough about me and isn't seeing me sticking around long enough to actually be friends with these people.
We have a really good dynamic. When we go out to parties, I hang out with my friends, and you go and you work the room.
I'm a social butterfly.
Yeah, you make business contacts and all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm constantly introduced everywhere. And this is my wife, Cherie. Everywhere.
Oh, everywhere.
So and we're big huggers too. So we give hugs to everybody, and that makes a huge difference.
Yes, it does.
People are afraid to hug in this day and age, and when you give somebody a hug, it's different than it was before 2020 because a lot of people are missing that, and they find somebody that is willing to do that, and it changes the dynamic.
It softens.
I mean, yeah. We go to restaurants, and I introduce myself to the manager, give him a hug, and then they remember us by name forever.
Right.
We used to go to this really nice steakhouse, and we had friends from out of town, and this was when they were 20% capacity, and they were booked solid. And I was like, man, I have my friends from out of town. I wanted to take them here. I go up there, and the manager says, oh, Chris, for you, we will find a table.
Oh, we'll work something out.
They gave us the best table.
Oh, it was wonderful.
When your grandparents came in, they literally gave us the best table in the house.
Yeah, they did.
And unfortunately, it was too big, and they wanted to move to a smaller table, but they gave us the best table in the house. We don't overly tip. We tip 20%.
Right.
We don't tip the manager because I don't think you're supposed to tip managers. But the hugs, the personal things, and then one key thing that I try to do is I'll try to remember something about somebody, whoever it is that I'm meeting, whether it's
special,
a manager or a waiter that I'm constantly seeing, or a health provider or something like that. And I will ask them, how is this going for you?
Activity going for you. Yeah.
How's this activity going for you? And that creates a really good bond.
Rapport with that person.
Yeah. So that's something you can put in your rapport building toolbox.
Yeah. And you know why that is because people don't usually remember things about other people unless those other people are important to them in some way, or if they've really made an impact in that person's life. And so if they hear that you remember something very random and seemingly unrelated to the conversation you were even having, but they still remember it, like their daughter has cancer, or that their grandmother has had a stroke last month. If you can remember these tidbits of information, that shows other people you care about what they're saying, and that you remember them and remember what they're saying, and that you're thinking about them.
Yeah, that helps
makes
a lot.
All the difference in the world.
We're already at 40 minutes, so let's move along. I think we're only at number 4 or number 5.
Yeah, please continue.
We're at number 5 out of 10. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kissing on the forehead. And I've talked about this before. This is one of the sweetest things that a man can do, and we love it so much. It makes us feel loved and feminine and respected and protected. And trust me, we cannot get enough of these.
Okay, so I'm going to skip to the next one, but I want to get your opinion on this. Kisses on the forehead. I've never done kisses on the forehead.
I think it's patronizing. In my opinion, it feels patronizing to me. I'm not really interested in that one. So,
okay.
But yeah.
Ladies in the chat, what do you
gals
think?
Yeah.
If you were out with a guy and he kissed you on the forehead, would that be endearing or patronizing?
It depends on the context, but I would usually find it patronizing. But,
okay, I've
we'll wait for the responses.
I mean, I've kissed you on the forehead before, but that's only when we're in the middle of an argument. Right,
and it's patronizing. It's more like, and it's not patronizing in a bad sense. Altogether, it's more like, oh, bless your heart. You're
bless your heart. It's
so
funny.
You're so cute.
We're both from Texas.
Yeah,
and Cherie did not know what bless your heart meant until like 5 years into our relationship. And I explained to her, I was like, bless your heart can mean so many different things. It could literally mean bless your heart, or it can mean F you, or it can mean, oh, your baby. Oh, bless his heart.
Oh, bless your heart. That you means, ugly thing.
That is an ugly baby. Bless your heart. That is an ugly baby.
Poor little heart.
Yeah. Or, if you say something, ask a question, and they're like, oh, bless your heart. That means you're stupid. It's got so many different meanings, and it comes in so many different contexts. It's like namaste. Namaste, it can be said in so many different contexts, and a lot of times it's F you, and it's as if like we can't read the frequency behind somebody's that's giving us this attitude and this whole high and mighty thing, and then, oh well, namaste. It's like, dude, go fuck yourself.
Right.
It's simple, but
namaste the F away from me.
yeah. Namaste the fuck away from me with all that static, because karma's a bitch. It's not black magic, or maybe it is. You'll never really know. So I'm like, abracadabra, now it's time for the show.
Some people are agreeing with me that the kiss on the forehead is patronizing. Others are saying I liked it when my husband would do it, because he would kiss me on the forehead while I was sick, and it made me feel better. That's different. That's also going down to where somebody else is that's lower than where you are, and kissing them on the forehead isn't, I feel so bad for you.
I can see that. And also that's a way to minimize potentially catching what your partner's going through.
Yeah, people say kiss on the cheek is much better than a kiss on the forehead.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And I have to agree.
Somebody is pointing out that Segment wants something really bad. And Best that's outside.
No, she's right here.
Oh, they both came in?
They both came in.
Amazing.
Go shut the door?
We have kept them in the house all of October because they're black cats.
Yes.
We let them out today. It's November 1st.
Mm-hmm.
They went outside for 20 minutes and came back in by themselves.
Oh, they're wonderful cats.
Wonderful
they're
cats.
so wonderful.
Okay, let's move on to the next one real quick.
All right.
Thanks. Play with her hair. You see me playing with my hair a lot in these videos, and I don't know why people do this or why it's so amazing, but we love it immensely. If you play with our hair while we're laying on your lap or sitting next to you while watching TV or something, and you start to just like touch our hair and mess with it lightly, that kind of stuff, it puts us in a near meditative state. It makes us feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. And like I said, I can't even explain why. It's just one of those things.
That's hilarious. It reminds me of a cat.
Like a cat.
You scratch a cat in a certain way, and they go into this meditative state.
I do this for Chris.
That's
and
true.
Chris does this for me too. When I'm laying on his lap, he'll stroke my hair. When he's laying on my lap, I'll stroke his hair.
But it's more like rubbing the head.
It's more like rubbing the head
massage rather than playing
with the hair. I don't know about the playing with the hair part. But yeah, stroking somebody's head while they're laying in your lap is a really comforting thing that does put you in almost a meditative state.
Carmel said hair is nice, so thumbs up from there. Ladies, let me know what you think. Is that something that men should be doing?
Right.
And you're laying in their laps, etc. And I would say But
people
I would
keep saying
say
it makes me purr.
I would say it makes me purr. Okay, wonderful. Amanda,
like a cat.
We got a heads up from Amanda too. I get that. I keep my nails a little bit long, and you know why? It's like I used to do them black. And so I stopped biting them, and I stopped doing them black because it was damaging them. But I still keep them a little bit long for the cats.
For the cats.
I swear to God, it's because the cats like it when I have longer nails. So, you know, I scratched Cherie in the head with the longer nails. And, you know, me personally, I love
He loves it.
a head scratching when I'm laying in somebody's lap. My mom used to do it from when I was like a tiny kid. She would come and she would tuck me in bed, and she would rub my back, and she would scratch my head and everything like that. And it was always a very motherly, warm,
enveloping
sentiment.
Yeah.
It always reminded me of like being a kid and you know, having mommy tuck you in bed.
Right.
For women, I can see how that same would apply. Except, you know, it's daddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I wasn't raised with the touching type, so there wasn't a whole lot of like, you know, stroking my hair or anything like that. It was mostly, you know, hugs, you know, and things like that. So when we first got together, it took me a few years to get used to the idea that when you love somebody and when you want to show them that love, that's one of those things that really shows him in particular love and nurturing and caring. And so I try to do that often.
I know.
Yeah.
My ex used to rub me for like hours on end, like literally. And then I got with Cherie, and she's like, I'm not rubbing you. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I've been rubbing you for 14 years, baby. There are times when it's difficult for me to rub you, but
there's a give and take, I guess.
It is a give and take, and it's also, you know, when somebody does something, you know, as much as they can, and especially if they weren't there, that's not like it's not in their nature, you know, according to the last 20 years of their life or 26 years of their life or whatever.
Regula said that she's been in meditations where they do things like that. I don't know if you have that spider or if it's downstairs. We have this little spider thing, and it goes on the head.
Oh, yeah.
And it's made
out
of,
where it is.
Oh, you don't have to go grab it. Actually, I think it's right over there.
I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Check this out. We have this little spider that goes on the head, and under certain circumstances, when you're in certain states of consciousness, oh, this feels so good. Oh, it feels so good.
All right. So it goes like this. You have to make sure, you know, yeah, and it scratches.
I don't know if you remember that from the rave days, but it's this little spider thing here, and that's all it is. But
spider would
yeah, when you're in that right frequency, you just get chills all up and down your body.
See, and I think it's to each their own though, because I never could get into the spider thing. I didn't like the way it felt on my head, but you know, most people do love the way it feels. And so the tactile sensation, you know, Chris has learned with me though that sometimes rubbing either tickles or it actually, you know, it actually hurts. And so he's been able to figure out just the right way to rub me. And over the years, I've learned the right way to rub him. And I think it's not even compromise. It's about knowing what the other person likes and being able to, provide that for them.
So Michelle asked a question earlier, and I don't know how long Michelle has been dating this guy, but he said that he loved her yesterday on her birthday.
It's been about 6 months. Yeah.
It's been 6 months? Okay.
Yeah.
And she's asking if she should say that she's in love with him. That's a difficult decision to make.
Yes, it is.
Because it really depends on the individual. It could cause him to run the other direction, or it can do like this big thing of relief. I remember when I was like 14 years old, I was at, I would go to Fitzgerald's a lot, and a club called the Vatican. And Alyssa probably is familiar with these clubs because Dead Horse used to play there all the time. And I would always go and I'd always be stage diving and always do all this. And this girl came up to me and she just started kissing me. And she's like, I am in love with you. Total stranger. Mm-hmm. And I was like flattered. I was like, wow, you know, really pretty girl. We wound up dating for a few months and all that. And, but she just came up to me just out of the blue. And she says, I've been watching you. I've been watching you stage dive. I've been watching you do your thing. I am in love with you. And I was like, wow. Now you fast forward to the mid-20s. This girl came up to me and said that, not out of the blue, but after knowing me for a very short period of time. Uh-huh. And at that point, I was like, whoa, okay, this is way too fast here. So take it in context. You know, at 14, I was like, wow, yeah, oh, great. I love you too. Let's, you know, let's and she was a lot of fun to hang out with.
Sure, why not?
At 25, it was different. At 45, how different is it? So, Alyssa said, what drugs was she on?
What drugs was she on, Chris? No, I don't think.
The usual.
Yeah, for back then, yeah.
Yeah.
You
know? But she really meant it, though. It was weird. Like, we dated for several months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, I think this girl knows what she's talking about to a certain extent. It's what most women like. But I think one of the things that about me that has frustrated Chris to no end is that I'm not like, a lot of things about me are not like normal women, but I'm unique. I see it as me being unique and my own person and not the cookie cutter woman.
I noticed that I have some feminine traits, mm-hmm. and you have masculine traits. And it's not necessarily like reflective of gender roles or anything like that. It's just the way we show affection sometimes.
And the way the brain works. Yeah.
But that does play to my advantage sometimes, because when I'm doing certain things, I do it the way a woman would do it. Mm-hmm. And I've received compliments from you abundantly.
Oh,
but
especially last
a few
night.
others, if you don't want me saying. But
go ahead.
No. I mean, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's. But I'm glad you're leaving it there. But
yeah,
I will say, like last night, for instance. I mean, it's been because of the health stuff. I've been slow to be able to grasp that part of our life back and, hold on to it for, indefinitely. And I think I passed a hurdle last night where it was a combination of, what we were doing, what activity we were engaged in, plus jumping and jumping in with you and allowing you to just relax and me relax. And as a result,
I haven't seen you that relaxed in a long time.
I know, and I think
it was like a completely different person.
It was like
well, when we first got together, it was that amazing.
And what's interesting is, they did, ever since they started me on these hormones, I've been doing a lot of research into this, and it turns out that, even things like, THC and CBD, they don't work as well if your hormones are out of whack. Medicines that you take are no longer going to work as well if your hormones are out of whack. And so in conjunction with all of these wonderful, wonderful tools, such as iLife, I haven't been getting the full benefit from it simply because my hormones have also been out of whack. Once I got the hormones out of whack, I mean, back in where they need to be, at least a few of them.
Your side cameras.
I apologize. I didn't realize that was closed.
That's okay.
Ever since I started getting the hormones back on track, and I also started meditating more, because it's allowed me to meditate more, which has allowed me to utilize iLife in so many new ways that I never thought of before, and that is also helping me to help us develop a whole new product line. There's going to be so many new things in the works next year that it's incredible what we're about to do.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would have been, as easy because it's turning out to be easy. Gaining weight is turning out to be easy. Going out and enjoying life with you is turning out to be easy because in conjunction with what, the hormones are doing, iLife's getting rid of the inflammation. And it's doing it so well.
I'm glad you said that because that's the
beautiful.
main thing. And that's the main problem in the body is inflammation.
Yeah.
You get inflammation in the back, you have back pain. You get inflammation in the knees, you get knee pain.
Right.
You get inflammation. Inflammation actually leads to cancer and other things like that. So dealing with inflammation in the body resolves so many different issues. And for a lot of people, that's all they need to resolve.
Right.
And a lot of people will take NSAIDs and things like that, but that's damaging to the kidney and the liver.
Right.
But you get on something like iLife on a regular basis and you notice that things just improve significantly.
Well, yeah.
Then you add to that the hormones. You
right.
add to that, the other things that are making things better.
Right.
I mean, I don't have to be on the amount of testosterone that I'm on. Like, that's my choice because I want to feel 20 years old again.
Right.
I would be doing just fine without it, but I wanted to feel 20 years old again.
Right.
But iLife brought me to a point of balance, and I felt great while I was taking it. I felt better after I took the hormones on top of it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's almost like the two are also synergistic where it, and you know what that tells me? It tells me the scientists that have come out with the newest research are 100% correct when they say that we have these receptors in our brains for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
And that
you have CBD receptors and THC receptors in the
well-being,
brain.
yeah, well-being isn't just about eating healthy. That has a lot to do with it. It doesn't have entirely to do with your activity level. That has a little bit to do with it too. But the main thing I think is regulating these types of cannabinoid receptors and making sure that they are full up with what they need, because our diet ever since ancient times has included some form of hemp or a THC or CBD type of product. And I didn't call them products back then, but these concoctions almost always had these elements in them. The reason why is because even in ancient times they realized that once the body is able to, remove a few of the problems, the mind and the body work together to tell you what it needs, and then when you add that thing, all the other things, including the CBD and all of that, is going to work so much better.
Well, and for people who aren't familiar, this isn't just CBD. This is 99% pure CBD.
Yeah.
We extract the CBD from the hemp plant, and then we infuse it into USDA certified organic coconut oil. We put a few other things in it, and we also put the ayahuasca vine in it too. And the ayahuasca vine acts synergistically with the CBD. It's THC free, so we can ship it in all 50 states, and people don't have to worry about testing positive on drug tests. And when we first launched this, people were saying they were buying it just to support us because we were going to Egypt.
Right.
And we were getting emails back saying, I've tried CBD before and I thought it was garbage, but your product is something completely different. The taste was the one thing that I couldn't get over when I got into CBD a long time ago. And I was like, we got to do something about the taste.
Yes.
We actually made it taste good instead of taste like grass.
Like a lawn.
Bringing in that ayahuasca vine is actually an anti-parasitic. They had a paper on the National Institute of Health that the zombie virus that was going around in 2020, people were dying of cytokine storms, which is when the immune system starts attacking itself.
That's right.
And we came across another paper that showed that CBD counteracts cytokine storms and fights cytokine storms. So you put two and two together, and we've been on this the whole time. We've never received a vaccine, Vacation? Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know if that keyword got all the way out.
I hope not.
Yeah, we didn't wear the masks throughout any of it. We just lived our life regularly. We didn't overly wash our hands, nothing like that at all.
Right.
I think we may have gotten something close to the zombie virus a couple times, because in March of 2020, before anybody knew anything about it, we were describing symptoms that later were described as the zombie virus.
Right.
But we got over it really quick. And that was before there was any kind of treatment whatsoever. And then we got the horse paste, which is what I'm talking about. And the next 2 times that we suspected we got it, one time we tested positive at home. We took the horse paste, and within 24 hours, we were, boom, back to normal.
Oh,
it was incredible. But I think it was because we had this built up in our system. So we've been running a promo, and I urge people to get on the mailing list, because we're about to send out a promo to our iLife customers. We're doing a lot of changes in 2023, and it's stuff we've been working on in the background, but we're gonna have to change prices of shipping have gone up, things like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to send out a subscription sign up, where you can sign up for 4 bottles for $99. 4 bottles for $99. And you can get that every single month, as long as you stay signed up to that. And then after that, we can't do that anymore. But we want to get everybody who was on board before the best possible prices, and then moving forward as we start to expand, other people won't get that deal. But I urge you to sign up to the mailing list, because you'll get a link in your email.
Right.
Now, for now, we have been doing the buy one get one free, and we've kept that going for quite some time. That's about to end.
Right.
But what you do is you put 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 in your cart. I'm going to put 2 in my cart here. Of the single bottles, I actually have 6 now in my cart. And so 6 bottles comes out to $354. Type in coupon code BTV Tribe, like our Patreon, BTV Tribe, all lowercase, and check out. And it'll take 50% off. So that's about to end as well. Take advantage of that, but make sure to get on that mailing list if you are a long-time iLife user. A lot of people have been using it for a long time, and we've received an amazing amount of feedback. It is incredible. It has helped with things that we never even imagined.
Right.
From people's cats getting older and then all of a sudden revitalizing themselves. One person, their grandmother was in hospice, and she was getting ready to shut down. He started giving her a life. He came back a couple of days later. She was playing cards with the nurses. She still died because she had a terminal condition, but it gave him more time, and she became lucid again. We never expected this. Never expected this.
No.
Another one, she was saying that grandma was gardening and was losing her interest for gardening and doing things like that. As soon as she started taking iLife, all of a sudden, boom, her
back to gardening.
Yeah, back to gardening and back to life. And I mean, tennis elbow.
So many things.
What was that one? The guy. It was a lady, and she bought it for her husband, and he has. I remember the email.
I think it was the son.
She said, no, I think it was the husband. She said, my husband hasn't slept through an entire night.
That's right.
Until he got iLife. He had, what did he have? Parkinson's or something?
I think it was Parkinson's.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Parkinson's.
And I'm
the
like,
tremors were so bad.
Oh my God. I'm like, I had no idea that this was affecting people so much, and helping people so much. Like when we conceived it, we never imagined that it would cover such a broad scope of things. So that's iLife, AYALife.com.
Just one more thing I want to add to that. Amanda Flores said, I've noticed a big crash by not being on iLife. I just experienced one of the worst moon cycles I've ever had in my life. And I can attest to that. It does, the hormones along with it, that it helped so much with what I was going through that I put off, getting that surgery for so long because it was helping so much with all of this. It was only when it got to a certain point that I was like, you know what, let's take care of this. But once you look at the relationship between CBD and hormones, it's incredible how much it balances your entire system out. Even things that you wouldn't even dream that it affects in a positive way.
Well,
it affects it in a positive way.
I dream a lot more vividly.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have had very, very, very vivid dreams.
I want to talk about the dream we had.
Yeah. We will. Okay, let's jump back into these last couple things. I'm going to go through them real quick because we spent a lot of time, and I told you it would be 45 minutes.
Oh,
we're now going into
I'm
an hour and 10 minutes.
Having a great time.
Okay, so I think this is number 6. Yeah.
7, be protective of her,
Number
not
7.
in a jealousy-driven, control-freak kind of way, but in a nice, gentlemanly type of way. I'm talking about things like walking on the outside of the sidewalk, so you keep her away from splashing cars. I'm in Los Angeles, no splashing cars, but you know what I mean. Stopping her from stepping in puddles. Again, no rain here, so no puddles, but you know what I mean. Offering your coat if she's cold. Holding her hand in public, reminding her to carry an umbrella if you know it's going to rain. You get the idea. It's taking care of her. All these little acts of protection show us how much you care about us. And it tells us that you're a man who we can rely on to look out for us. Someone who can keep us safe and secure. And that is very attractive to
it's
any
a little
woman.
bit
It's one of the
now.
biggest things that we look for in a guy once we're really into him. So number 8, feed her.
So I mentioned all of that earlier.
Yeah.
Be protective.
Be protective.
So I didn't watch this all the way through.
No, I know, and she's saying exactly the same as you've always said.
So it's nice to see that chivalry isn't dead. It's still there, and there's some women that really appreciate that.
Right.
I remember you and I were walking through where was it? Is Las Vegas, Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes, Hollywood Boulevard.
You and Donnie Gilson. And there were all these pickpockets eyeing you and Donnie. Mm-hmm. And I've got my head on a swivel, 360 degrees. And y'all are just walking without a care in the world, all this stuff. And, we were walking to some back alley to get some medical marijuana from this dispensary. There were all these shady people, like, down at the corner. And we're like, let's go this way. I'm like, no, let's not go this way. Let's go this way instead, I've got my head on a swivel, and y'all are just walking around and just, as if it's all good. But that's what us men have to do, I think.
Well, you're a real man.
Be protective.
Real men are protective of women.
Yeah, but like you said, not jealousy protective.
No.
Yeah. Physically protective.
Physically protective and in a caring way.
Yeah. I have this thing. It's so weird. I learned it from my mom. Whenever I'm about to slam the brakes, I'll put my hand over the passenger. And sometimes it's a guy friend, and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry. It's just it's instinct." He's like, "Yeah, you have kids?" No, I don't have kids. It's usually a parental reaction,
right?
But I learned it from my mom because she would always do that. Whenever she would slam on the brakes, she would put her hand in front of the passenger,
right? And
I do that when I slam on the brakes and you're in the car.
And I think that's so sweet because, there are situations where even wearing a seatbelt doesn't stop me from jerking and hurting myself just jerking around. And so you doing that has kept me, safe from just, being jostled around to the point where I hurt something.
Okay, so ladies in the chat.
He's a gentleman.
What do you think? Do you like protective guys, or do you feel that is a hindrance in 2023? It's 2022, but I mean, it's 2023 for all intents and purposes.
Yes. Somebody said, sweet how it is supposed to be. That was Miss Dee Dee. Thank you, Miss Dee Dee. I think you're totally spot on with that. Damn, Chris, now I'm thinking I need a man because I always be walking and not paying attention to my surroundings.
Yeah, you gotta pay attention to your surroundings. I grew up in the streets of Houston, Texas.
Neighborhood,
It was rough.
Yeah.
You had to have your head on a swivel. And so there were situations where anything could happen at any given time, and so it was just something that was developed within me.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm too overly protective. Sometimes I can get paranoid. And make connections where connections aren't there.
Right, but you've seen people pickpocket people so quickly. You've seen people scam people.
We were at EDC a couple years ago, and I watched this guy pickpocket your phone.
Literally.
Like, I watched him. Something happened, and I didn't react the way that I should have because I wasn't sure that he was pickpocketing your phone. But I told you, don't take your purse. And you were like, I'm going to take my purse. And then you had your phone, and you had a water bottle on top of it. But as we were leaving, she had her phone on top of the purse. And the guy walks by like this, and I can see his arm movement like this. And I was about to jump on him, but I didn't know for a fact that he had taken your phone.
I would have jumped on him.
And then you said, hey, my phone's gone. And I'm like, shit. And the guy disappeared in the crowd.
The guy was already gone.
And it was while we were walking out.
And I know what happened to that phone too, because somebody turned it on briefly, and it was right by the Mexican border. It was way down there on the border with Mexico. So I know where it went. But yeah, that was an unfortunate circumstance, and ever since though, I've learned my lesson, and I now, allow you to carry most of the stuff. And
thank you. I take a backpack. I got everything we need in the backpack.
He is so sweet. You guys, he thought of everything.
You wanted to wear your heels, and I was like, "You're not gonna last."
Your feet are gonna hurt.
Yeah. And sure enough, an hour into
halfway through. Yeah. Or it was about halfway through. I made it about halfway through before I changed.
Nose blowing.
Or
pause.
Was it more of like an hour? Oh man.
Nose blowing pause for Chris. Is it that obvious?
No.
Yeah, we're both a little bit stuffy.
Well, we were cleaning out the garage.
Yeah.
All day yesterday, and
it started
sinuses
to snow.
So,
yeah, I should probably. Here
so, anyway.
Okay, so a couple more real quick. Be protective.
So number 8, feed her.
Feed her.
Okay, you might think that this one is absolutely crazy, but if you take that last bite of the pizza and you feed it to her, you just give it to her, it's going to melt her heart immediately. In fact, anytime while you're eating together, if you can feed her a bite of something of yours, not all the time, of course, once in a blue moon, she is going to love you for it forever. Maybe this sounds insignificant or something straight out of a mushy-gushy rom-com, but we girls find it super cute and endearing. We do. So once again, try and see how powerful it is. All right, number 9.
Okay,
so since day one, he's done this.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Oh, yeah.
But
you're
right.
Yeah.
Whenever we get something to eat and there's the last piece or whatever, I'm like, no, it's for you.
He always gives it to me. And there are times whenever I'm like, no, I insist. I want you to have that. But I really appreciate that on a deep, deep level, because it shows me that somebody not only cares about me, but cares about me more than himself in this instance. Like he probably would like to take that last Oreo, or he probably would like to taste that take that last bit of cake, of chocolate cake that we're sharing, or something like that. But instead, he always seems to offer it to me first. If there's one bite left, go ahead. He is such a gentleman and such a sweetheart in all of these regards that I agree with this.
I didn't do this show to brag on me, but I appreciate you bragging on me. I really do.
Well, it's turned in that direction because it's true.
But the question is, ladies out there, do you like that behavior? Is it something that melts your heart? With you, I take it that as a yes.
What? I'm sorry?
This is something that melts your heart?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, it always has.
Yeah.
Yeah, always has.
Okay. So let's move on to the next one.
Next one?
Feed her. That's so funny because that could be taken in so many different ways.
Yeah, it can.
Oh, okay. Amanda's saying yes. 100%. Yes. Yes to selfless men. Yes, but the last bite, yes. Okay, so all the women
Everybody's
agree.
in agreement.
So guys out there, remember that. Keep this in mind. But the thing is, when you just understand chivalry, these are natural things, and sometimes they can be taken as weakness, and I don't like that. And I've been in situations before where it has been taken as weakness, and it's not weakness by any means. But unfortunately, we're living in kind of a weird society right now. But with a woman that is a woman, who can define herself as a woman, because it seems to be that some... Have you seen that, What is a Woman?
Yes.
Okay, I saw that
the
other day. And he went all across the world trying to define what is a woman. And he went to this tribe in Africa, and they just thought the whole transgender thing was just silly.
Yeah.
Now, I have no problem. I've had transgendered friends before. It doesn't bother me, and some of the transgender girls, they're really beautiful, and they are even more feminine than some biological girls. I would never disrespect anybody to their face and misgender them like that, but at the same time, I don't like it forced upon me. And when it's forced upon me, then it becomes problematic. And when it's a guy wearing a dress and he's like, it's ma'am. It's like, no, dude, it's dude. Okay.
It's dude. Okay.
It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Okay.
Yep.
So that being aside, I have nothing against LGBT, anything like that. Nothing. I've always, I grew up in Houston. I used to go to Numbers. That was right on Montrose and Westheimer. That was like the big gay area of town. We went to this after hours club across the street from Numbers one night, and we were hanging out, and it was me, my girlfriend, friends, his girlfriend, and everybody had a girl with them. And then all of a sudden, all these guys come rushing into the club, shirts off, very good looking guys, built and everything like that, and they all start dancing. And all of a sudden, there's no more women in the club at all.
Sausage fest.
We're like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of a gay bar. Apparently, this after hours turns into a gay bar.
Oh, no.
After a certain time, and we didn't know, and we're all like, should we leave?
Should we just go?
And everybody's like, in their frequency, and we're just looking at each other like, yeah, let's hang out. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? So we hung out for the night. And then something strange happened to me a couple years ago. I went to a restaurant, and this was during the whole lockdowns. So I was eating by myself, and there was this gay couple sitting at the table, and the really good looking guy, like, built and everything like that. And he looks at me and he starts giving me eyes. And I just look back down at my steak and I start eating, and I'm like, that's creepy. And then for the first time in my life, I got in the car and I called you, and I was like, the most interesting thing happened. There was this really good looking gay guy, and he was flirting with me at the restaurant. And, obviously I, went back to eating my steak because I'm not used to that. But I started thinking about how good looking this guy is. How, he's built. He puts a lot of work into an effort into what he looks like.
Flattering.
And I was like, I'm actually kind of flattered. How is it that I'm flattered about this? And I posted this on Facebook, and people were laughing, and they were like, you've crossed over into boundaries where you are 100% comfortable with your sexuality, and you can take a compliment even if it's from
a same
sex. Even though you're completely and totally heterosexual, you can take a compliment from a same sex. That's a huge leap in maturity. And I was like, well, I posted it as a joke because I thought it was funny, but I guess it is a huge leap in maturity. But how do we get into that topic? We got in that topic for some reason. What was the last thing that you said? Oh, feed her. Okay. I don't know how we went from feeder to LGBT and transgender. I guess chivalry.
It's about chivalry.
Chivalry.
Yeah.
And how chivalry is being chipped away. And, I don't believe that the majority of women out there are liberal feminists who are man haters and don't like to be treated like women.
Yeah, or who want beta males or anything like that.
I don't believe that. Because I don't see it. We live in Las Vegas, one of the most liberal cities, and I don't see this in my day-to-day life. I see ladies that like to be treated like ladies, and I see men that, sometimes they treat them like ladies, sometimes they don't. But I've never, ever, ever opened the door for somebody and then just go, oh my God, what are you doing?
How dare you?
I have had people open the door. I have opened the door for people, and they just walk right through, and without even looking at me. And I'm like,
or saying thank you.
That's rude.
Yeah, that is rude.
But that's the extent of it. So, okay. So a couple more, and then we'll move along.
Wrap it.
For 9, listen actively. You've probably heard this before, probably a million times, but it bears repeating. One of the greatest gifts you can give to a woman is your undivided attention when she's talking to you. This is huge because the feeling that we crave the most, that we often do not get, is that feeling of being heard and understood. So if you can be an active listener, if you can really pay attention to what she's saying, meaning you pay attention when she's talking to you, nod your head that you're listening, ask questions, be curious, engage, give your honest reaction to what she's saying. All of these things make her fall in love with you. And if she's already in love with you, it just deepens that love even further to the point where she's absolutely devoted to you. Because like I said before, all women crave to be heard and understood. I don't know where it comes from, but it's what we desire. And if you are the guy that makes us feel that way, we can't help but be more drawn to you. Okay, so number 10.
Okay. So this is a slippery slope and a double-edged sword.
Yes, it is. I was going to say the same thing.
Were you going to say? No, you go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, here's the thing. When you've been with somebody for as long as we've been together, which is about 15 years, something like around there.
Oh, Brent Thomas is in the house. What's up, Brent?
I
need to talk.
Oh, hey, Brent.
I want to talk to Brent. I haven't talked to Brent in a long time.
We do need to
call and say hi.
Yeah,
see
we
how
need
he's
to
doing.
hang out with Brent a little bit.
Yeah, I love you, brother.
Yeah.
Man, miss you. Yeah.
Maybe because it's Halloween still technically, kind of.
Oh.
Maybe we can have.
Yeah,
talk
I'm glad we didn't do a show last night. I wish we would have directed people to the portal. Because I'm sure they did an awesome Halloween show.
Oh, I'm sure they did, and but back to this. This is a really interesting point because in the first, I would say 5 to 7 years of a relationship, it is the case where if a woman is talking, then it's really important that you show that you're listening to her and that you are engaged in what she's saying. However, when you've been together for as long as me and Chris have been together, most of the things that I'm saying, he's, either already heard before or it's something that, he can't, the only time it's ever frustrated him has been when it's something that I'm just kind of complaining about and, using the people around me as a way of kind of dumping those emotions and saying, okay, I can't carry this anymore. Here, you carry it. That's not right. And it's not fair. And I think in a lot of relationships, people do that. And then it makes the other person, and especially, here's the kicker. If there's anything at all that person can do to help you in that situation, then you tell them that. You don't, when you go on and on about the same types of problems that you're having, and there's such long-standing issues, such as me with chronic pain and things like that. I don't think it's healthy. And Chris brought this up several years ago, and I've tried to inculcate it because it's actually really important. If you're around someone who is there's constantly something wrong with them, and they're just constantly talking about what's wrong with them without giving you any reasonable way that they can help you with that, then that's not right. However, if I go to Chris and I say, hey, baby, I'm having a really hard time with something today. Can you help me by rubbing me? Or can you help me by drawing me a bath? can you help me by doing this? That is going to give him something that he can reasonably do to help me with what I'm dealing with. And that also opens up the dialogue to where that other person is actually listening to you.
I agree with you. And we have had our ups and downs as far as that goes, because you're like, hey, I got these problems. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to do about it. But then you're like, I got these problems. Can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, of course. You were having problems getting into doctors. So you weren't telling me you had problems getting into doctors. I pick up the phone. I get you into doctors in like 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And it helps because when the patient is calling, they kind of blow the patient off. It's just, that's how doctors are. When there's an advocate or a family member calling, they
snap
get
to
in line
attention
real quick.
Yeah.
They had you scheduled 3 weeks out and you were having a major issue.
Yeah.
And that was just a check pre-surgery. And when I called, they got you in the next day.
Right.
Because I called and it was, it was so serious. But I think as a man, the one thing that frustrates us the most is having a problem presented that we can't fix. Because men are fixers. At least good men are, in my opinion.
Good men are fixers.
They're going to want to fix a problem. They're going to want to change a tire. They're going to want to fix your car. They're going to want to, try to do something like that because it makes us feel like men. And, when I can call your doctors and get you in 2 days instead of 2 weeks, it makes me feel good when you're telling me, hey, I've got this problem. I need you to pop this shoulder back in or pop this ankle back in or, something like that. It makes me feel like, we're connected and I'm helping and I'm part of the solution.
Yes.
But when it's closed off, then I'm outside of it and I'm in a situation that I have no control over. I have nothing that I can do about it, but just kind of ride it out. Going back to the communication thing though, there are times in the middle of arguments when you have to listen to your partner and actually hear what they're saying. And when I say listen, and I've brought this up with you, Cherie, many times, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying. That's not, that's control. But when I say listen, I mean, just take the time to just listen. And I'm like, this is bothering me. This is why it's bothering me. And this is what can be done to fix it. And sometimes you'll cut me off mid-sentence. And sometimes you'll even say, I'm like, this is bothering me. And then you'll cut me off and start going off on other things that you think are bothering me. And I'm like, no. Please just listen. And so, that can be seen as like cutting off. It works the other way around too. And where she was mentioning engage in the conversation. And sometimes we do that, we're in the middle of conversations and we engage in the conversation, even in the middle of an argument. We were having an argument the other day and I jumped in and I said, you were saying something about like, okay, everything you say is gospel. And I was like, okay, hold on. Let me jump in for a second here. And you're like, oh, you're interrupting me. And I'm like, no. I need to understand why everything I say is gospel, okay? Gospel means the good news. Why is it everything I'm saying is the good news? And she's like, that's not how I meant it. And I knew that's not how she meant it, but I was just fucking with her a little bit.
I was really good at that.
Yeah.
So I grammatically
quote unquote
myself.
Engaging can be a slippery slope because it could be taken as interrupting. And so, yeah. A lot of people accuse me of interrupting you on the show. Somebody said that earlier when I gave a shout out to Brent.
Oh, that's not interrupting. No.
Radio is a different dynamic.
Yeah, it is.
And so it's a different dynamic.
There's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, listen to any radio show out there and people are constantly interrupting each other.
Oh, yeah.
Whether to move things in one direction or another or something. Athenia.
I was just about to say Athenia. Hey, my favorite couple. Aww.
And I hope you don't mind me saying Cuclara. It's, wow, thank you.
She's gorgeous. And on the inside and on the outside. I mean, I've noticed that about our listeners. They are just beautiful, beautiful people.
Did you know what that meant?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. Picking up a little Greek. Nice.
Well, I can learn languages online too. So yeah, I realized a long time ago that, or it may not have been that long ago, in the way that you perceive it may have just been, very recently, but I feel like I've came to this conclusion a little bit slowly, because I do have a lot of ego issues that get in the way of me allowing myself to listen to a person that I feel has wronged me or hurt my feelings, and those walls go up that prevent you from being able to hear what it is they're even saying. So it's kind of like we put these walls up to protect our hearts from getting hurt, but at the same time we're putting these walls up and we won't be able to hear what they're saying through that wall. And in order to hear what they're saying, you got to break that wall down. As much as it exposes you and makes you vulnerable, it also is, sometimes it is the only way that you can hear your partner and really hear them. Not just you listen to what they say and then the whole time that they're talking, think of what comeback you're going to use.
That's a good point.
That's another,
because that's something that we've had to work through in our relationships, and maybe you guys and gals can take some advice from here. But a lot of times we tend to not listen to our partners, and as I was saying before, you don't have to agree. You can, if I'm like, hey, this is bothering me, and you're like, well, I don't care, I'm still going to continue to do it, that's perfectly fine. As long as I'm heard. That's all I want, is just to be heard. And I think everybody just wants to be heard. But you were just saying something, and I was going to elaborate on it, and I completely lost my train of thought as far as that goes.
I think when Athenia came in the chat, it distracted you a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
But yeah, people are saying listening is so important. We tend to be a lot more critical of our partners.
I remember what it was. We tend to want to think of a reaction and hold on to that, and so we're not listening anymore.
Right, at that point.
And so we're just waiting for the time to react to whatever it is. And a lot of times, a lot will get lost. We'll say, I'm the type, I'm like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is why you hear me sometimes cutting off Sharia a lot, because I'm trying to keep the broadcast going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and sometimes, and it's guests too. Sometimes they'll go off to Z. And it's like, well, let's not get to Z yet, because we need to tell the story in an order, Maybe I'm just OCD like that, but a lot of times your partner will have this much to tell you, and then you only heard a tiny little bit, and you've already got a response ready to go, and you're missing everything that your partner's actually telling you.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So listening is a good thing, but engaging in the conversation, which is what she had brought up, can be a slippery slope, because then it can be accused of interrupting. So you got to be careful in how you do that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of that.
I think the point really is to make sure that your partner feels like you have heard them before you move on to whatever it is. I mean, yeah, you can bring up whatever it was that you were upset about, or that, all of that. That all does need to wait until that partner understands what it is you're saying. I mean, that you understand what it is your partner's saying first. Then make the judgment on whether you want to say that thing or not on what they just said. Not, just not listening to them at all and holding on and holding on and holding on. Okay, you've been talking for 20 minutes. Can I talk now? Okay, this is what I've wanted to tell you for 20 minutes.
Athena gets accused of interrupting her partner all the time too. It's Greeks. That's the way we are. We just interrupt.
Well, and if you're listening to your partner and you're also interrupting them, how does that partner feel like you're listening to them? It feels like you're not being listened to. And I think we've both been guilty of this in the past. I'm not saying, I'm not bad about that, and you are. I'm saying I've I know that I've been bad about that. But lately I've been trying, I don't know if you've noticed, but lately I've been trying more to listen to everything you say first, and then it's not talking back, but more like giving my perspective of how I see the situation and how I am perceiving things.
Okay, Alyssa brought up a really great point. Excuses are like assholes. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Alyssa, and I know that was a jab at me for the last comment I made, but this is something that comes up with us because I'm like, hey, this is making me unhappy, and then I get 10 excuses as to why this is being done. And I'm like, I don't care about the excuses. I just care, like, if it's going to stop or if it's going to continue. All your excuses and reasonings are excuses and reasonings. And all that's doing is just telling me, okay, here's why I'm going to do it. And here's why it won't stop. And it's like, well, just tell me I'm not willing to stop it. And, that'll be the end of it.
So this is what happens sometimes, is that I like to look at cause and effect. Maybe that's my male brain versus, Chris's more female type of brain. But my brain works in this direction. I understand that what I did was not correct. And I don't want to do this again. But in order to figure out why I did this in the first place, let's talk through what caused me to make that mistake in the first place. And to him, that sounds like excuses, and like I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing, when the fact of the matter is I've already said I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. Now I need to understand what brought me to that point. And
that's fair.
And
that's fair.
And so I'm just explaining the rationale behind a mistake that I made, but I'm not saying it wasn't a mistake.
But this is why 5-minute conversations turn into
6-hour discussions about this. And I think it all goes back to
and I think
truly listening with your heart rather than listening with your ego.
I think our men are more simple. Mm-hmm. We just like to be like, the car's broken. Okay, yep. What's wrong with it? It's not starting. Okay, I'll go check it out. Instead of, well, I was at the grocery store and then I heard this noise and then this guy came up to me and I started talking to him and I gave him $5 because he wanted to get something, and then he wound up getting beer, and then, I got a little bit upset about that, and then I put my groceries in the car, and then the milk spilled on the way home, and then, I got home, and then I stepped in mud on the way out, and now the car won't start. It's like... I don't need all that other information.
I completely...
In order to address the problem.
I understand that. Mr. West says it's just the ego trying to stay undefeated. LOL. That is spot on. And that's usually the cause of most people's hostility towards one another, or hostile environment, or things like that. It's usually the case where one or both people, they want to have the last word. They want they don't want their ego to be even threatened, much less hurt by the things that are going on at any given time. And so a lot of times we think, oh, this just came out of nowhere. That suddenly this person is just being mean to me out of nowhere. It's not usually the case where it came out of nowhere. Usually there's something that you may not even realize that you're doing that is bothering them greatly and is really causing problems in your relationship. And then suddenly, oh, there it is.
Yeah, no, I'm guilty of that. I'm really guilty of that. Letting a lot of small things go, mm-hmm. and then blowing up at something seemingly innocuous.
You're right, innocuous, yeah.
Innocuous, and it's not that I'm blowing up over that. It's that there's all this other stuff that I have been holding in, and it's built up.
Right.
And so that's important, in my opinion, to consider. And I think all relationships go through that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be a nagger, and you don't want to constantly nag. But at the same time, there's certain things you can tolerate, mm-hmm. and certain things you would like to change, and then certain things that you ask to be changed and they don't change, like piles of papers in the bedroom, for example.
Yes.
The bedroom is always going to have piles of papers in it. I've just given up on that battle. Amazon packages are going to come 5 times a day. I've given up on that battle too. It's just, but yeah. I guess you just gotta be careful not to let things build up because it will blow up in a toxic way.
That is exactly what I think we've come to the conclusion of, is that I can't keep things from you that are actually bothering me. I know what you're looking at in the chat. I addressed that.
Oh yeah, but I think you blocked Sharon Rose on accident.
I did not mean to do that.
Yeah, no, Sharon Rose is a listener.
I know that. I wasn't.
Okay, yeah, no, it was an accident.
I was doing it for somebody else. I'm so sorry, Sharon.
We had girls69.xyz, one of our sponsors, come into the chat room to let you know that, I don't know, deleted messages. Find your love in your city. Click on this link.
Yeah, I'm so sick of that stuff. So I just got rid of it. I quietly did that.
No. Sharon accidentally got banned.
Yeah, and
we unbanned you, Sharon.
We did unban you. I'm sorry, Sharon.
She saw girls, I think, and accidentally hit the ban on yours. Yeah,
and that was. I mean, yeah, that happens sometimes. So I think the point is, if something's bothering you, and it's enough to hold in the back of your mind, and just hold on to it in the back of your mind, then it's worth bringing up right when it happens. It's kind of like how you're supposed to train cats, for instance. Cats can be trained, and dogs too, and this counts for dogs too, but you need to address things right as they happen, not say anything at all, or kind of roll your eyes and sigh a little bit, and then, when it reaches a, when it's the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, it's this huge set of things that not only can you not go back now and change, you didn't even know they were a problem. And so it causes the communication to turn from, two people that are a team working together to solve issues into an adversarial thing.
I've always taken a shower and then gotten out of the shower and dried myself off. Mm-hmm. Isn't that the normal thing that people do out there? That's normal. It's perfectly normal.
That's
Is it not?
Perfectly normal.
You take a shower, you get out of the shower, you dry yourself off.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, that is a huge blasphemy against your wife in a marriage, because
you leave enough for an Olympic-sized pool on the floor.
Because you get the floor wet. So now I have learned to dry myself off in the shower.
Well, you don't have to do that. But just
thank you for the love,
floor.
Christine.
Oh, thank you so much, Christine.
Yes, thank you for the
just
super
wipe
chat.
the floor.
And so you make little concessions like that.
Yeah.
But that stuff builds up,
Yeah.
And then you get wet feet, and then wet feet is like a 5-alarm fire around this house.
It's not a 5-alarm fire. It's
she'll get mad. It's so funny. She'll get mad because the cats will knock over the water bowl, and then she'll step in water in the kitchen, and then she'll get mad for stepping in water, and she doesn't know who to be mad at because she can't be mad at the cat. She can't be mad at me.
I realize
she's just mad.
There's no reason to be mad, and things happen. We're a family, and we're a family of 4. We have 2 fur babies that are just such sweet babies. And I mean, I do want to get into that thing from last night that we experienced, or the night before last, rather. It was...
I guess it's a female thing, because a lot of females in the chat are saying, wet tootsies is like a huge no-no.
Wet socks are a no-no. That's how you get like infections on your feet and stuff. It's how you get like athlete's foot and stuff like that. I think it's just kind of gross. So... but that doesn't really, nowadays, that doesn't bother me nearly as much as knowing that something is irritating you and not really being able to put my finger on it until there's enough of those things that irritate you where you just blow up. I'd rather you tell me, if something's irritating you, go ahead, leave water on the floor. If it's that important to you, to just be able to dry off wherever you feel like drying off, I completely understand.
No, I don't mind. I just use the shower upstairs now. I literally do.
I know.
I use the guest shower. I've moved out of the bedroom. I just sleep there and that's it.
Yeah. I feel lucky you at least do that. No, but...
Okay, let's move on to this because I think we got one more.
Yeah, we've got one more of these and then we want to talk about some other stuff.
10 gestures that make girls melt instantly, and then we will move on to some more
People are saying they don't like this girl.
I think she's cute.
I think she's... I
don't know what's wrong with her. But
that she complains too much.
She might complain too much.
Some people say she complains too much. Okay.
Make her laugh. And it's no surprise why 89% of women say a sense of humor is the sexiest trait that a man can have. Studies were done on this topic. Women were asked to answer the question, what's the number one thing that you want in a guy? And 9 out of 10 girls said sense of humor, or the ability to make them laugh. Not looks or height or muscles like most of you think, not cars or money or social status, but a sense of humor. The ability to laugh at things, laugh at life, laugh at yourself. Do you find...
I'm calling bullshit on that one. Because I'm sorry. You could be the funniest motherfucker in the world. If you look horrible, women are not going to be throwing their panties at you.
Mm-mm. No, that's not happening.
Take Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a comedian. He's a great podcaster. You know, I don't agree with the direction he's gone in the last few years, but he's buff. He's good looking. You know, he does UFC, all that. If he was like this big-nosed guy that was overweight and everything like that, I don't think girls would be throwing their panties at him just because he's funny.
Mm-hmm. No. Women don't throw themselves at unattractive men that are obviously unattractive. What they do is they want to be friends with those people. They're not going to date them. You know, they want to be connected to those people and be friends with those people, but you know, most.
No, I'm being facetious. I see what she's saying.
Yeah, I know what she's saying.
Sense of humor is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy that can laugh at himself, a guy that can take a joke, that can be roasted, for lack of a better term, by his friends or his family, and have it, roll right off his back, is a very mature and well-rounded and self-confident person. If a person lacks that sense of humor to be able to laugh at themselves, well, they're most likely a Democrat, for one thing. And then number two, they lack that self-awareness and self-confidence to be able to not have an ego trigger kind of response to that, to what's being said.
She said a lot about the sense of humor, so maybe it would be worth hearing what she has to say. God, that sounded so misogynistic.
9 out of 10 girls said sense of humor, or the ability to make them laugh. Not looks or height or muscles like most of you think, not cars or money or social status, but a sense of humor. The ability to laugh at things, laugh at life, laugh at yourself. Do you find that odd? Do you think they're lying just to be nice? Well, I would doubt that that's what they were doing, because for me as a woman, and my girlfriends as well, sense of humor is a massive, and I mean massive, turn on. We will overlook a lot if a guy is quick-witted and can make us laugh, because how can we not? How can we not like a guy who makes us laugh? A guy who makes us feel happy and joyful and good all the time. It's impossible. Even my students have seen the magical power of making a girl laugh. Often guys come to me asking, Marnie, how do I attract women if I'm not tall or rich or good looking or something of that sort? And I always tell them that the fastest and easiest way to win over any girl, no matter how hot, closed off, or picky she is to simply make her laugh. And then I lead them to the banter guide. And after that, within a few weeks, my email account starts to get flooded with messages from those same guys telling me how they have found their dream girl, how they're getting more dates and more fun encounters than ever before. And some even say how their existing relationship has improved due to the banter guide. In case you're wondering what this guide is, well,
okay, so I guess that's the selling point for the video. But anyways, what did you think about that, Sheree? And I know, for people just joining us, the reason we went over this video is because we had an awesome night last night.
Yeah.
And then I decided to implement the first tactic. I was just flipping through YouTube as we were just decompressing at about 11 a.m. And I tried the first tactic on Sheree, and she was just like, oh my God.
I mean,
and I was like, okay, there might be something to this. Let's talk about this. Let's get a dialogue and see what the ladies of BTV have to say.
He doesn't do that very often. And so it surprised me. Like, he does that, but it usually is in the context of we're already like hanging out together and, we're making out as a couple. It's not usually the case where he's like, hey, baby, come here. I want to tell you something. Or I want to show you something, and then does that. It surprised me. It swept me off my feet.
For those of you that are just joining us, it's the first one. This is what caught my attention, and I did it, and the response from Sheree was amazing, and so I was like, okay, maybe
it's beautiful.
Number one, hold her face as you kiss her. And God, this is so freaking sexy. If my man holds my face and kisses me passionately with like good eye contact, it's almost like I'm transported to a different world. And most girls are going to feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started.
And it was
in case
beautiful.
You're wondering.
It was gorgeous. I agreed with, most of what she was saying. I really do. And that first one especially, when you're being spontaneous and showing love in a spontaneous way, it's different than if you're sitting side by side and you're in kind of make-out mode, or, you're in holding hands, watching TV, watching a movie mode. It's something spontaneous and random and beautiful. And that's what I loved the most about it, was that it came out of the blue. And it's just this show of love. I loved it.
Okay, so
all right,
it has been 2 hours. This was supposed to go on for 45 minutes. I do have a couple other things that I wanted to talk about that are a little more based in BTV style stuff and things that are going on in the world and whatnot.
Sure thing.
Do you want to get into it?
I would love to get into it. Can we take a quick break out, and then come back to it, or do you want to?
Well, I was just going to run a quick intro, but if you need to take a break,
I just need to use the restroom real quick.
What should we play during the break?
I think your music is stellar, and there's people really love to hear it. So
I've been playing my music a lot lately, so I'd really like to go back to a classic that we haven't played on BTV in a while, and we need this guy back. This is a good segue into the next segment. So this is going to be the Patreon exclusive section coming up, but for everybody listening live, stay tuned. We will be right back.
You don't hear them talking about COVID. To be specific, COVID-19. That name gets further and further away from China, as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus. Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Calling it Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Testing is a double-edged sword. They test and they test. People don't know what's going on. We got this, they got this. You do testing, you're gonna find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down. You know what? We got another one over here. Yeah. The young man's 10 years old. He's got the sniffles. That's a case. That's a case. Thank you, China. Send us the plague. Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Calling it Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Despite the fact that I have done a phenomenal job. He lied. I saved hundreds of thousands of lives. There was only one person that died. I ran for politics once, but I became president. You are so lucky I'm president. There's a limit to what we can achieve. I stand before you today to declare Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Kung flu, the Chinese virus. Don't you understand? the Chinese virus.
You gotta love it.
If I lose an election over that, you know what? This country's in big trouble.
This country is in big trouble. Very big trouble. Very, very big trouble. But there's a reason why this country's in trouble. And the reason is...
Thank you. This may be the most important speech I've ever made.
Well, it's about time.
It was a massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. In the Senate. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. But I went from leading by a lot to losing by a little. We used to have what was called Election Day. Now we have election days, weeks and months. Lots of bad things happened. What can I say? Wow, it was a massive dump. Our country cannot live with this election. Right now, we're worried about the present and what went on with an election that we won without question. In Pennsylvania, large amounts of dump. All over the country, dump. Nevada and California said dump. Right here in Washington, it was a massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. In the Senate. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. But I went from leading by a lot to losing by a little. So many got ballots, they didn't even know what they were for. And again, so many received more than one ballot. In some cases, more than two ballots. What? If you were a Democrat, we're gonna fix up your ballot, make sure it's perfect. If you were a Republican, don't even talk about it. Can you believe this? The hardest thing I have to do is dump. When they're irregular, dump. Let's go on to the next dump. It's because they know they are hiding with a massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. In the Senate. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Massive dump. And to this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from? Massive dump. Wow. But I went from leading by a lot to losing by a little.
So we're being vindicated over and over and over again as far as everything that we said back in 2020. Everything, I mean, if you saw the recent Pfizer thing, it was absurd. They were in front of the EU, and the EU asked them, did you do any research to see if this thing works? And they were like, no. And they were like, did you do any research to see if any of this thing would stop the spread? And they were like, no. And we didn't have time. And they like openly admitted it. And the US media is like trying to cover it. Like, no, that's not what they meant. That's not what they meant. It's like, that's exactly the question that was asked. Did you do any research to see if this would stop the spread? No, we didn't. We didn't have time to. It's absolutely absurd. But there's several things happening right now. Of course, Elon Musk bought out Twitter. And people were asking me, Chris, what do you think about this? I have mixed feelings about Elon Musk. There was a time on the broadcast where, I mean, I'm still very good friends with Mark Sargent, Jaron, a lot of the flat earth people, and a lot of them were hating on Elon Musk for his SpaceX. I didn't go along the lines of the flat earth, but I respected their views and I found their views to be interesting. Which led me to question the nature of reality in and of itself, which then led me to questioning the digital nature of this reality, which then led me to the conclusion that we're living in a simulation. Now, I had already had that conclusion. It helped to act as a stepping stone. When it comes to Elon Musk, there was a lot of things that he's done. You know, number one, the electric car thing. Okay, he has every reason to be a liberal douchebag. Every reason in the world. He owns an electric car company. He has every reason to promote climate change. He has every reason to promote all the bullshit agenda that is causing $6 a gallon gasoline right now, causing a very dire situation where this was 6 days ago. We are down to 25 days supply, now down to 20, maybe even 19 days supply of diesel fuel in this country. And that is a huge problem because everything comes on diesel fuel trucks. So if we were down to 19 days worth of supply, that's a serious, serious, serious problem. So Musk has done a lot of things to help the little guy out. He'll promote Dogecoin, for example. A lot of people made a lot of money with Dogecoin. Some people lost because they didn't pull out at the right time. But he was letting people know, invest in Dogecoin, invest in this, invest in that. And he was helping people make money. He was making a shit ton of money himself, no doubt about that. But he was helping the little guy, stock tips, things like that. You know, follow Musk and you'll make money. And especially if you know, if you're not greedy, and like some people were and kept their money in Dogecoin thinking it was going to go up and up and up and up and up. It was a pump and dump scheme, but he was letting the little guy in on what was going on. His buyout of Twitter, you know, it looks good on the surface. And it looks like he's going in there and he's cleaning everything up. He exposed the bots, which I thought was phenomenal, because we did a whole show about bots, and we showed how there were multiple Twitter accounts posting the exact same things, and some of them with, and a lot of them with the blue check marks and verified accounts and so on and so forth. And they were posting the exact same thing, pro-propaganda about the zombie virus situation. Oh, my brother just got this and we need to lock this down because of this and that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Same grammatical errors, same everything. There weren't retweets. They were original posts coming from dozens and dozens and dozens of accounts. Mm-hmm. We posted pictures of bot farms and how bot farms are run with multiple cell phones so they can appear to have different genuine locations, not even on one computer that is running multiple proxy servers. They had dozens and dozens of cell phones on the wall that they were able to control through the phone. I mean, through a single computer. And each phone had a separate identity. Each phone had a separate operating system, separate location, separate everything. So it looked like legitimate users. Mm-hmm. And we did a show about this back in 2020. So we talked about that. Elon basically got all the bots off of Twitter. I remember Mark Hamill and others. I love Mark Hamill as far as his work goes, but his politics is shit. But he was like, I'm losing 8,000 subscribers. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just lost 3,000 followers today. I lost 8,000 today. I lost 10,000 today. It's because the bots were being scrubbed when Musk decided to buy Twitter out. And so it revealed in the agenda of how they prop up these people who really have no following at all.
They're not popular.
They're not popular. They make them look popular. Uh-huh. You know, they tried it on YouTube as well, promoting videos that really shouldn't be promoted because people aren't watching them, hiding the dislike button because that's one thing that they couldn't do. They were taking down videos and then removing the dislikes and putting those videos back online. Uh-huh. At the very beginning, and these were mostly from the White House's official YouTube channel, and they finally hid the dislike button because they couldn't hide it anymore. You know, you can't hide, and they turn off the comments because you can't. You know, mail-in ballots don't buy from advertisers. Mail-in ballots don't click on links. Mail-in ballots don't do any of that. Mail-in ballots are just mail-in ballots. When you have bots running around on Twitter retweeting all this nonsense, those are bots, and it's very clear. And a lot of times you're arguing with bots. So he exposed that first and foremost with the Twitter deal. Twitter, I don't think is worth $5. You know, it's not really a liberal shithole, and that's all it is. Like, who the hell even goes to Twitter? Like, I have a Twitter account and I barely use it because it's a liberal shithole. Musk steps in and takes away one of their big propaganda outlets and starts changing the algorithms, firing everybody up and down the line. And he did so for $44 billion.
That's a lot of money.
That's way more than what Twitter's worth. So I don't see him recuperating his investment. I don't see this as a very good business move. And if you look at it strategically, it doesn't make sense. So going back to like the electric car situation, he has the product. He has the solution for climate change, which is electric cars. yet he is anti-climate change because he understands the propaganda. Why is he spewing anti-climate change rhetoric when he has a solution for climate change? You know, to me that speaks real, because he's got a car company, but he's more interested in telling the truth and being real with people than anything else. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, please, in the chat room, in the comments, anything like that. I'm just giving my view on the situation. But when it came to the bots, he got rid of all the bots. He bought Twitter for $44 billion because he valued free speech so much more, and he realized that we need a free speech platform, and we need a free speech platform that's not Truth Social, that is a mainstream free speech platform. CNN was just bought out by a Trump supporter, and they want to make CNN more balanced, and that Lemon guy was fired, Cuomo was fired, that bald-headed cuck guy, I forget what his name is, Brian Stelter or whatever his name
Brian
is.
Stelter.
Yeah. I mean, look at the guy. He's like fat, bald. He's like the... You know, if you look up cuck in the dictionary, cuck in the dictionary, you get his picture. Like, that's, you know, who is he appealing to? You know, so CNN is getting rid of all of them and trying to change, because they realize, again, mail-in ballots don't buy from advertisers. Mail-in ballots don't actually watch news coverage. And CNN's ratings tanked 80% after 2020. The only thing that people were tuning in for was to see the Trump bashing, and that's it. Once they lost all of that, then they're still trying. 2 years later, they're still trying. So Musk coming in and buying Twitter for $44 billion, it seems like he's trying to cause a major shift in not just Twitter, but every other social media platform. Because Facebook is in danger now. Because if you've got a free speech platform, people are going to go there, and they're going to drop out of other platforms that have those restrictions. Likewise, YouTube is going to have to follow suit as well. And I've seen YouTube, ever since Musk bought out Twitter, I've seen YouTube recommending me more conservative things, more truth-related things. I've seen him recommending me BLM people who are watching Larry Elder and people like that. I've talked about in previous shows, so I won't be redundant. But I've seen the algorithms changing. I've seen Beyond the Veil be recommended more and more and more, where before we were completely and totally shadow banned. So I'm seeing things opening up and going back to a place of normalcy where we have a legitimate, open conversation, instead of liberals who are trying to control the narrative and banning anybody who disagrees with them. I'm also watching liberals right now reacting to Musk, and what they're doing is they're doing it through multiple fake accounts, 300, 400 fake accounts, and going out and spewing a bunch of neo-Nazi rhetoric. And they're doing it on Twitter under the guise that they're Trump supporters. They were never Trump supporters. It was just like that guy, I don't even remember his name, but he was on J6, the black guy that they arrested. And he was the one telling Ashley Babbitt to go through the window. He was Antifa, BLM, all that. But they paraded him around as a Trump supporter, and he never was. He was arrested at other Antifa rallies as well. John Sutherland, I think is his name.
John Sutherland, yeah.
Yeah. It's been so long since we've covered that. But this is what they do. They do false flags. And they'll go and they'll wear Trump hats and go and cause a bunch of problems and say, oh, look at these Trump supporters. It's like this recent situation with Pelosi. Pelosi had somebody in his house, this guy is LGBT. He officiated a wedding for some woman who's got like these multiple sexual abuse charges and all kinds of stuff like that.
And she's a nudist.
And she was a nudist.
Yeah.
They did a nudist wedding in San Francisco. The guy's totally BLM, Antifa, all that, but suddenly now he's QAnon and a Trump supporter, and he walked in there and he says, "Where's Nancy?" Well, the police report is coming out and saying that the police were called and they were both in the house in their underwear, and they were holding onto a hammer, and somebody opened the door for police. Who opened the door for police?
Right.
Who is this third person that opened the door for police? The window was broken outwards, not inwards.
Not in, yeah.
You know, if you were breaking in somewhere, you would be breaking in and the glass would be inside of the house. The glass was outside of the house. When he called 911, and I can probably pull up the audio right now, he said, a friend is over and I'm having a dispute with a friend, denoting that he knows this guy.
Yeah.
And he's got a history with this guy. But somehow this guy's this QAnon guy that's going around and, you know, trying to start violence at Nancy Pelosi's house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the way the left freaking operates. So Musk coming in and buying Twitter and taking that power away from them and opening up real discussion, I think is a great thing. He does have, let me just finish this real quick. He does have some Chinese financial backers, but they're a small minority. However, if you take a look at the way they're going after Trump, and they're going after him in every way that they possibly can, civilly in New York, which is a bunch of bullshit, and they keep running these stupid headlines. We have enough to indict Trump on criminal charges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He was the best president we've ever had. Why would you want to indict him? We need him back. We need him back. Everybody can see that. You see the midterms, Latino votes, black votes are all moving towards Republican because people aren't worried about J6. People are worried about the price of food, the price of gas, the price of the cost of living, the inflation. That's what they're worried about. And they saw that under Trump, everything was so much better. And that's the problem. You and I were talking about this the other day. That's the problem. When you have peace and prosperity, which is what Trump brought, then people don't have anything better to do.
They're bored.
Than to start fights with each other and to start attacking the people in power and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like an old Roman thing. And I don't remember who it was that said this, but it's like, you know, maybe it was out of 1984. I don't know where this was, but keep the people poor enough to where they're worried about their survival, but not so poor that they revolt. Find that perfect balance.
Right.
And it seems like that's the balance that the Dems have been looking for. And meanwhile, they're going after Trump in every which way. If Trump was part of the agenda, I don't think there would be a need to go after him over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Likewise, as soon as Musk bought Twitter, they started going after Musk.
Right.
And they were trying to use the same law that Trump was trying to go after TikTok. And TikTok, in my opinion, is a mind control operation. It's to dumb down the kids in the United States. TikTok is the worst freaking platform that exists. It's got the stupidest content. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, Trump was using this law. I don't remember which one it was, but it was something about foreign governments having interests in corporations here, you know, covertly. And TikTok had to scramble and change ownerships really quick. And that's the only reason why they were able to stay operating, because they changed ownership here in the United States and made it American owned. And they're trying to go after Musk with the same kind of laws to try to stop him from taking over Twitter, because he has some Chinese backers. But the Chinese backers are a minority. They're not a majority. He is the majority stockholder. And so it's his company. So even if he has a few Chinese backers, they're trying to attack him with the same laws.
Right.
They have been attacking him hardcore for posting about the Pelosi situation and saying, I think there's something more to this. So they're really going after this guy, where a couple of years ago, their answer was, well, you don't like the price of gas? Well, go buy an electric car from Elon Musk. You know, Musk is the guy that is going to be providing you all these electric cars. He was their hero, and now all of a sudden he's the villain. How does this happen if he's part of the agenda? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense.
Well, I think a big key part of this is something I didn't realize about Musk until Project Veritas recently did their expose on all this stuff, and part of it was talking about they were talking to Twitter employees about Elon, possibly buying Twitter, and this guy, he said, he has Asperger's. You know that, right? Like, he's like literally special. That was one of the Twitter employees. That was one of the Twitter
employees.
Project
Veritas came out and they got him on film saying this.
Saying,
yeah.
He has Asperger's, right? Like, that means I can't trust you. I can't trust you if you have Asperger's. Like, that you're literally special needs. Along with being degrading, it also...
Now, these are the people that are social justice warriors.
Supposedly social justice warriors.
But behind closed doors, this is what they talk about.
They speak this way about people that aren't... Their IQ is actually usually higher than normal people's. They are extremely...
He's the richest guy in the world.
Yeah, he's the richest man in the world, and you're going to denigrate him like that? You know, when Elon has talked about having that, and it's not a detriment to him or to any company that he oversees. And let me tell you why. Because people with Asperger's, or high functioning autism as it's called now, they do not break the rules. They might have their own versions of rules in their heart and in their mind than what the mainstream media does or what the government does, but they have a very strong sense of morality, like as in right versus wrong, as in hurting people versus leaving people alone. And he really believes in this freedom of speech stuff to the point where he doesn't care how much it costs him. He doesn't care how detrimental it's going to be to his pocketbook. He doesn't care about that. What he cares about is everything being fair. They have a very strong belief in everything needs to be fair.
You put $44 billion into a company that's not worth $1 billion just to buy it out to protect free speech.
Those are principles I can stand behind.
That's putting your money where your mouth is. And nobody has ever done anything like this. And so I can see why they're deathly afraid of him.
Yeah.
And to me, he seems real. He seems like a genuine guy.
To me too.
I don't know him, obviously, but he seems genuine. And I already see the change happening. And I already see the shift happening. And I see the Dems with their bots using all these neo-Nazi and racial slurs and, all that kind of stuff to try to make it look like there's a problem where there's no problem. We saw the same thing with CNN. They would go to Trump rallies and they'd set people up there. It's Trump rallies spewing neo-Nazi stuff. And they would film the people at the Trump rallies doing this. And it wasn't anything like that at all. So that's my view on Elon. I could be wrong. And if so, maybe we'll just go with a nihilist point of view. Because I hear a lot of nihilism. Where it's like, oh, everything is all staged. Everything is this. Everything is that. Trump's one of them. Elon's one of them. We have no hope, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But at the very least, it's like in 2020 when we pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed for that Trump 2020 timeline. We can at least sit back and say we did the right thing. We did what was in our hearts, and we tried. And there were people that were fighting against us. And everybody who's living in this mess right now, I blame the people that were fighting against us for the mess that we're in right now. Now, of course, they're not going to take responsibility. There were some people who were even on TFR that were wanting to come on BTV and debate us about Trump and how horrible Trump is and this and that, et cetera, et cetera. You don't see them coming up and saying, this is what we wanted. This is what we were all for. $6 a gallon gasoline, 30% increase in the cost of living, et cetera, et cetera. We did this. You don't see them doing that.
Right.
And you never will. But the fact is that that's what they were promoting. We had the foresight to know that this was coming.
Right.
So Elon Musk, exact same thing. I think he did a huge service to humanity. But we still have to wait and see where this goes. He could turn around and turn Twitter into a Chinese deep state operation.
That's even worse.
But I don't think you will.
I don't think you will
I don't
either.
think you will.
Somebody said that, I'm sorry, I just don't trust him. End of story. I just don't trust him. The only thing that I would have, that I would think would even become an issue with Elon owning Twitter is the fact that people with Asperger's are often very naive and they trust the wrong people. And they think that the people that are their friend, people that are, they think everyone's genuine like they are. So they make friends with people that obviously have horrible ulterior motives. And the only, danger that I could foresee would be if he hires people to work at Twitter at the very top of Twitter who end up doing the exact same thing. And they just hide things from him and don't tell him about things.
Well, that's the one criticism I had about Trump.
Let things go.
He had Fauci. He had all these people around him that he shouldn't have had.
Terrible.
He should have fired them immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Unless he's playing a long game here, which is let these people hang themselves, give it back to the deep state for a temporary period of time, watch it all crumble, and then get all the people on the side of taking the deep state down. Which is where everybody's at right now.
Right.
You hear very few people promoting the deep state at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cares. And that's the thing. And even MSNBC, mainstream outlets are having to tell the truth now because the truth is so apparent that people don't care about J6. They don't care about all that. They care about the cost of living. They care about all of that. And that's why we're seeing a big red wave happening in the midterms.
Oh, yeah.
So we see a red wave happening in the midterms. We're going to see Trump back in 2024.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. The only question is how much damage is going to be caused between now and then.
Well,
and is the damage going to be irreparable?
Have we really been able to address all of these obviously very deep issues with our electoral system? Are we going to be able to turn things around to where that is not going to happen again? And I think a lot of people have chosen to just not vote, unfortunately, just because they feel like, well, what's the point? They're just going to, hack into the voting machines again. They're going to do this. They're going to do that to make sure that we lose. While I don't doubt that, I think that the more people that do go out there and vote, the more people we have working in these voting booths and things like that, really watching every single thing that's happening, and we don't let them get away with what they did last time.
Yeah, I mean, here in Nevada, it's all mail-in ballots.
It's all mail-in ballots now. So
yeah,
you
have to opt out of the mail-in ballots to go vote in person.
Right, and that's wrong. That is so wrong on so many levels.
It's a recipe for disaster. So you're right.
Yeah, it really depends on that.
We'll see what happens. But
if we stand on our own 2 feet and say no, then I think that's going to be different.
If you want to go a layer deeper into the more esoteric of what's going on here, what we're watching, as I said before, are the energies in the background, which are playing themselves out. The antivirus and the virus fighting against each other. And it looks like on a human consciousness level, the virus is being removed from the human consciousness. And people are turning against the woke bullshit. They're turning against the woke culture. They're turning against everything that they've been trying to push. The only question that I have is, are they pushing so far left so we go the polar opposite right, which then ends in like theocracy and Handmaid's Tale kind of stuff? Are we going to start having morality police now coming in on the other side? And I've seen cases like this. Forgive me for being redundant. I've talked about this on previous shows, but there was a one place, I think it was Michigan. It was a big Muslim community, and they were going to the school boards and they were demanding the end of critical race theory. They were demanding the end of sex ed for elementary school kids and middle school kids and so on and so forth. And they were raising up the Muslims for doing this. However, what does Islam come with? Islam comes with Sharia law. So was that the plan from the beginning? push so far left that it's ridiculous to any sane human being, and then bring in the alternative, which is the polar right.
The swinging of the pendulum.
We need it in the middle.
Right.
You know, that's where the balance is. We need it in the middle.
We've always needed it.
So as we're watching these energies unfold, I have to ask myself if we are seeing the matrix shutting itself down. That's the reason why it's getting denser and denser and denser, because we're all being prepared to go home. Mm-hmm. So we are getting rid of our attachments and so on and so forth. We had this weird vision, and it was a dream. Okay, so I had a dream that I was watching myself. I fell asleep on the couch upstairs, and I saw this black and white cat sitting over me. And it was this cat that I used to have a long time ago named Cow. She was a tuxedo cat. She looked like a little cow, so we called her Cow.
Aww.
So she was sitting over me, and for several hours, that's all I saw in my dream, was me laying on the couch with Cow looking over me, and every once in a while I would look up and Cow would be looking over me. Mm-hmm. And I went downstairs and I told Cherie, and I said, I had the weirdest dream last night. And I said, you know, there was this cat laying over me, and that's all that I saw. And she said, I had the weirdest dream too.
My dream was that I saw a cat laying on him, and I was seeing everything from third person. It was very odd because I don't see things through third person normally. Do not. I normally just kind of, my dreams are usually very vague and random and things like that. This does not feel random at all. This felt like I went outside of my body and I traveled through the house, and I went upstairs to check on the twin, and he was asleep, but with a cat on him. And I thought, oh, there's little Sekhmet, so cute. And then I looked closer, and I said, that's not Sekhmet. That's got to be a different cat. What cat is that? And then I saw this machine. It was the weirdest thing. It looked like one of those threshing machines that you see on farms, combined with one of those machines that you use to clean up the ice at ice skating rinks. I forgot the name of it because I'm not from the north. But it smooths out the ice, and it looked just like that, but it had like a face. It was very, very odd. It was like a being, but a mechanical being. And it came in, went through the door.
Didn't you say that the walls dissolved?
It was almost like the walls dissolved.
Like when you explained it to me, what I was visualizing is a digital deconstruction.
It was like pixelated.
Space.
Everything became pixelated except for this machine that came up to you in Sekhmet, or this cat, which was also not pixelated. The only thing that wasn't pixelated was you, the cat, and this machine. And that cat was looking at the machine like, don't you dare, don't touch this person. This is my person. And the machine, it put a white layer of paint on your forehead for some reason. It was like this, like a little, just a stripe, one stripe down the middle of your forehead. That was it. And then it backed up, and I kind of like followed where it was going, and it went back downstairs to where I was sleeping. For the first time, I think it might even be my whole life, I actually saw myself in the third person laying like this, and I had both cats, Sekhmet and Bastet, on me. And they too looked at this machine like, don't you dare. This is my person. Sure enough, once again, the thing on the forehead, and then it left. As I was continuing this dream, because by now I'm like, this is really weird. I'm hearing about this machine sucking, and I watched it happen. It went into like a neighbor's house. It was the people across the street, and it actually pulled something out of them. No joke. I mean, it's like sucking an energy out of them or something. And the people would turn gray afterwards. It was like they went from being like pink, like how we are, to being just completely grayed out. Where they were completely gray looking, almost like dead people.
Yeah, Nick Bravo called it in the chat. He said marked him as inedible before you even said that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did not do anything to us except marked us and then left. And it was doing this to people, but they didn't have any animals with them. These were people that had no animals with them, that had no protection, it seemed like. It seemed like these cats were protecting us from something. I had no idea who this cat was that was on top of you. I just told you, this was just such a weird dream. And he asked what the cat looked like. And I said, well, it looked like a black cat at first, which is why I thought it was Sekhmet. But it had like a white stripe that went down it, or something about it was white, like a face was white, or maybe the chest was white. And you said, I think that was the same one that was on top of me. Do you want to elaborate from there?
Well, it was weird because, like I said, the entire dream state felt like hours of me just watching myself. I could see the blankets. I could see the cat. I could see the cat on top of me. I didn't see the machine, but I saw the cat. And I was like, where is this black and white cat coming from? This is weird. And it felt like Sekhmet, but it wasn't Sekhmet.
Yeah.
It was most likely Cow, who died a long time ago.
Yeah. Passed on.
You shared this dream simultaneously, and it made me go, what the hell's going on here? And so I wanted to ask the BTV tribe out there if you guys have had any weird similar experiences, but as you described it, it was almost like you have to have an animal vouching
for your character.
Yeah, vouching for your consciousness. As this harvester is going around and doing its work. And it skipped over us because we had animals vouching for us.
Yeah.
Spirit guides. I mean, in my case, it was an animal that I had 20 years ago. It wasn't even one of our current animals. But it skipped over us. It went to others and was sucking
the life
force out of others. And so it's weird when you have these synchronistic dreams, because I have to say that they're more than just synchronicity.
It's happening at the same time.
This is way too bizarre that I'm seeing this cat all night long, and then you're waking up and telling me about this dream where you're seeing this cat over me.
Yeah. And that it wasn't Basset or Sekhmet, it was something else.
It was like
another
this gray encounter we had back in like 2015, 2016, where I walked downstairs, I lay down on the couch, and then all of a sudden these three grays come in. I say, Halloween, it's too early for Halloween. Why are they wearing Halloween costumes? And I'm out. And then you tell me the next day I had this weird dream. I walked downstairs, I saw these three grays, and you said something about Halloween costumes, and that's all that I remember. I mean, how do you connect those two? Like, totally independent of one another. I had even fallen asleep down on the couch downstairs, and you were in bed upstairs, so we weren't even in the same room.
We're in the same room, yeah.
And you're telling me we had the same dream. Same thing with the other night. So I think, we talked about harvesting ships. We talked about how, and this is what the New Age talks about. Oh, the ships are going to show up and take us away, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the harvester ships that are harvesting the energy of the NPCs and all that.
Getting whatever they can out of it.
And the New Age is like ushering those people in, and they're like, yes, go to the harvesters. But it seemed like they're marking people like, okay, this is organic.
Yep,
or
inedible.
This is inedible. Yeah, exactly the way Nick put it. This is inedible. This is inedible. This is inedible.
This is organic.
okay, we can take from this, we can take from this, take from this. And if that's the case, it brings us back to the idea of walking containers where the souls have been sucked out of people.
Right.
And what we're seeing in this reality now are just walking containers, NPCs, but even without the NPC consciousness in it.
Right.
Just literal walking containers walking around. And if that's the case, that's even more evidence that the Matrix is shutting down in itself.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When we went to go reset the Matrix in 2018, we didn't say that it was going to be hallelujah and bliss
butterflies
and
rainbows.
rainbows and all of that. Like we never said that would be the case. We didn't know what was going to happen, but we never said it was going to be the case. And the whole shutdown of the Matrix was never supposed to be a utopian world where everybody lives harmoniously together, because what's the point? If it's a utopian world, why would you want to leave?
Right. You wouldn't.
A utopian world would only trap you further in the machine, and if it's time to get out, it's time to get out.
Right.
So it makes sense why things are crumbling. But we can still swing it back into a more palatable place while still learning the lessons of detachment and letting go of the material world. So I think the midterms are a huge turning point, showing that the virus is indeed being deleted from the system. Because when we were talking in 2020 about the virus, we were looking at the political structure of the world as a representation of the energies of the virus operating within the system. But in actual fact, we were ignoring the virus in the consciousness of the collective out there.
Right.
And focusing solely on the political structure as a representation of the virus itself and the antivirus. And when 2020 happened the way it happened, I was thinking to myself, did I do something wrong? Did we do something wrong? Did we miss a step somewhere? What happened? What went wrong? But when you look at it now, at the end of the Matrix reset process, at least this process, the virus is being removed from the collective consciousness as well, or as much of the collective consciousness as can be. And that's how an antivirus would actually work. It wouldn't just work just on the political structure. It would work on the entire consciousness of the Matrix itself before shutdown.
Right.
So NPCs will be shut down, sent back to Sophia.
Do you want to hear something? And sent back to Sophia,
Well,
and then
sent
what?
back to Sophia, and then when the machines turn back on, they go about living their lives again. Organics are then exited from the machine.
Right.
Return to their bodies.
And probably never come back here again.
Probably never come back here again.
No.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but somebody pointed out that it sounds a lot like that white mark was the mark of Krishna. I looked up the mark of Krishna, and it said, as devotees of sports teams sometimes decorate themselves with their team's colors and insignias to remind themselves and others of the glories of their team, Krishna devotees wear tilaka, they call it a tilaka, as a reminder that we are all sparks of living spiritual energy within material bodies. So perhaps the ones that are not being marked, it's like the machine is saying, this one's gone.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and take the rest of the energy because this one's already gone. That spark of spirituality and of consciousness is no longer even in there.
Yeah. And getting a glimpse at this right now at this time, we came back with a countdown clock, 4 years, 7 months, give or take, a few weeks. That's December 2022. Here we are. I can't believe it. It's been this long. And things have gone up and down and left and right. And, we thought we'd miss a step. We thought we did something wrong. We thought we did everything right. It's been such a whirlwind of emotions. But we get down to the final hour and everything seems to be going the way it should. It's not supposed to be a utopian world. It's supposed to be a world where we're like, we want to get out of here.
Right.
We want to disconnect from all this. And at the same time, the collective consciousness is showing that it's the virus is being removed from the collective consciousness.
Absolutely.
As well. So in 2024, I think we're going to see things shifting back. Now, if they shift back into the polar opposites, we're in even more trouble.
Yeah, we are.
If we start seeing theocracies and all that. But anyways.
Well, and the problem with humans, with human beings, as the case may be, is that they do tend to go to extremes, either one way or the other way, and they don't think that there's any middle ground there. And I've heard a born again Christian say that no, it's fine to torture people's children in front of them if they know, where an attack's going to be, where our soldiers are going to get killed. I have no problem with that. I have a big problem with that, and that shows me that it's not a matter of religion. It's not a matter of belief system. It's not a matter of any of those things. It's where your consciousness is. What do you value in this world? Like, what is it? Do you have no heart? Or if if you do have a heart, do you only have a heart for those that are just like you? This is one of the overarching questions here, because it doesn't just go for religious belief systems. It goes for social justice warrior belief systems. Why is it that when someone does something to you, it's terrible, but when you turn around and do that exact same thing to other people, it's justified?
That is typical left bullshit.
That's their MO.
Yeah, Nick said people keep moving towards authoritarian left or authoritarian right, never liberalism.
Libertarianism.
Right, libertarianism. Right in the middle. I agree with you, Nick, 100%. It needs to be right in the middle. That's where the balance is.
I think Mr. Organics agree, with that statement.
Yeah. And DeSantis, I don't know about him because he's too much like Trump. And he's been a politician for a long time. Trump was never a politician. And I don't think lightning strikes twice. I don't think we're going to get another guy like Trump. We're going to get somebody who looks like Trump, talks like Trump, acts like Trump, but is part of the deep state.
Right.
If DeSantis comes in. If he's the real deal, like I've said. He's going to step back, let Trump take it in 2024, and then he'll get the torch passed to him after that.
Yeah.
That will show me that he's not part of the deep state.
Right.
But if he runs in 2024 and, he may prove me wrong. It's like Trump. 2016, I was like, oh, it's just, Trump is, part of the agenda.
Part of the establishment.
It has to be. Presidents are selected, not elected. 2018, when he proved himself with his track record, then I became his biggest supporter. A huge voice for him.
When you saw that he was actually
doing what he promised to do. It blew my mind. I mean, just that fact by itself.
We've never seen that.
Right. I was just, you took the words out of my mouth. I've never seen that in my life. A politician that actually delivered on their campaign promises. Whether I agreed with his campaign promises or not, he actually delivered them.
Yeah. We can't say that about anybody else.
Nobody else. No.
Not
there was
even
one. a term coined. Oh, those are just campaign promises.
Those are just campaign promises.
Just campaign promises, and that's it. And it was dismissed with every president, from Reagan to Bush to Clinton to Obama to literally everybody. Campaign promises, and that's it. And people got so used to that, to being lied to on the campaign trail, that they would dismiss it off and say, oh, this is just campaign promises.
Right.
And then here comes Trump. And he's like, no.
No, I really meant that.
I really meant that. Yeah.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. First week in office.
Yeah. First, we're going to build a wall. Then we're going to call it the mainstream media. Then we're going to grab some pussies.
And then we're going to make other countries that are actually the ones sending people over here, we're going to make them pay for the wall too.
Right.
That was, huge, in my opinion. The fact that his policies really, really did put this country first and foremost. It didn't pander to China. It didn't pander to anyone, and we didn't need to. Now we've got, supposedly our, commander-in-chief begging other countries to not make them look bad by waiting to screw us as a country until after the midterms.
There is no way Biden's in charge.
No.
Obama's in charge.
Right.
He even said in an interview, if I can get somebody to run as kind of like a puppet, he didn't use those words exactly, but, he could run things from the background.
Yeah.
That's why Obama's going out on the campaign trail right now.
Instead of him.
And campaigning.
Mm-hmm.
Biden doesn't even know where his fucking left hand is.
He's not even sure where to poop.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And the Saudis are just like shitting all over us.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, we're going to cease production of gas. And they're like, well, we need more in the market to bring the prices down. Like, no, we're going to actually cut it. And we're going to starve you out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you have all those reserves. You can open up all your reserves, which Trump did. Mm-hmm. And the Saudis are like, open up our reserves. And Biden's like, no, we can't. We have this Green New Deal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the thing. Regardless of what you think of these people, what is your life like right now?
What is what?
What is your life like right now?
Oh.
What... Can you feed your family? Can you afford gas? Are you living a better quality life or a worse quality life? Mm-hmm. And then, thank you for bringing up Putin, because we're literally on the brink of World War III.
Yes, we are.
And it's only a matter of time. Diesel, I mentioned diesel earlier. Yeah, we're going to run out of diesel in about 19 days.
Yeah.
And when that happens, no more Amazon trucks, no more delivery trucks, no more overseas
it's gonna get bad.
Shipments. It's all going to just freeze.
Yeah.
Unless something happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the whole thing about Agenda 21, which now is Agenda 2030. They never had a plan for renewable energy.
Right.
They were just selling the idea for the purpose of bankrupting the superpowers, the United States, the EU, so on and so forth, and driving everybody into poverty, bringing in a socialist caste system. Removing meat was also one of the big things as well. And we saw the New Age pushing the whole vegetarian thing and all that. And it's all Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. And it's being played out right now, right in front of us.
Right.
And it was interesting because we were talking about this back in 2010, and it seemed like so far away at the time. And here we are right now.
Here we are.
Yeah.
And we are.
But there is a curveball here. The Matrix has been reset, and it is shutting down. So everything that we're seeing right now is them trying to maintain control of a system that is shutting down. I mean, imagine you're scurrying to keep Skype open and keep Chrome open and keep all these different programs open, WordPad open on your computer as your computer's shutting down.
Right.
You can try. That computer's still shutting down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can really do to stop the shutdown. What you can do is practice patience, make the most out of the programs that you do still have open, and enjoy the ride. I think a lot of people are forgetting that regardless of what kind of situation we're in, we can still have fun with one another. I wish we could have found some more desert raves and places like that, because if you're stuck in this place while it's shutting down and while all these things are happening, you have front row seats to the most important time in human history. Front row seats to the most pivotal and most important time in this machine. And you're right there, you're front and center, and you're watching all this unfold. And it's not just interesting, it's historical. It is.
I mean, we got
incredible.
We did a show the other day, VIP tickets to the end of the world or something like that, and I really meant it. Like we're witnessing what so many generations have been talking about. We're witnessing end times. We're witnessing Armageddon. We're witnessing the apocalypse. We're witnessing literally everything. We're living through it. It's amazing to have first class tickets, VIP tickets to the end of the fucking world. But I say, bring it. But the thing is, nobody said it was going to be comfortable. And that's the thing.
Right.
Nobody said it was going to be comfortable. But here's what's interesting. Last night we didn't go out because we've been a little more conservative with our resources, because we're not making money on stocks anymore like we were before. We're not making money on crypto like we were before. It was just like everybody else. So we're being more conservative with our spending. What did that result in? That result in the most amazing night that we've had in a long time. We could have gone out.
Beautiful.
Steve Aoki was playing, one of the biggest DJs.
Yeah.
We could have gone out, hung out with Molly for a little bit, went out to the club, did that. But instead we chose to stay home, and we had the most amazing, magical experience, twin flame reuniting, reigniting, and that led us to this show here, which is, we got into some deep stuff in the Patreon section. In the beginning of it, we got into some very elementary things, but it's things to help with personal relationships. And at the end of the day, what do we have? We have the relationships that we built.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing.
That's the only thing we take with us.
Every man dies. It doesn't matter if you die a multimillionaire or if you die completely poor. All you have at the end of the day is the relationships that you forged and the lives that you impacted.
Right, and the way they impacted you.
Yeah.
That's all that's going to matter. It's all you get to take with you.
Right. So we got to experience something that we wouldn't have experienced had we gone out and spent a whole bunch of money and weren't thinking, let's be conservative with our spending.
I would have much rather done what we did last night. That any day of any year of my life, that was one of the most beautiful nights of my life last night.
I agree.
And
so on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the 2 hour and 53-minute mark of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, the majority of this has probably been cut. We've talked about the Elon Musk situation. We talked about the midterms. We talked about the Matrix reset. We talked about harvesting machines. We talked about weird visions that we were having. We shared those visions with our BTV tribe, got their feedback, so much more. So I hope you guys got something out of this, guys and gals. Mostly guys, though, because I think this was more like, the whole thing, BTV reacts to 10 gestures that make women melt. As I said, I used some on Cherie, and that's what prompted this entire show.
Because it worked.
Because I saw that it worked. And I was like,
well.
let's talk about this and let's see how many women agree with the stuff that's out there.
Are you going to do it more is the question? Or was that like, okay, cool.
No,
it wasn't a one-off thing. I want you to do that more often because that was awesome.
And I do want to do more reaction shows.
Me too.
And reaction videos.
Yeah.
There's a channel called Oversimplified.
Oh, it's such a
and
cute
I
channel.
love that channel.
Yeah.
They talk about all these ancient wars and stuff like that, and they do it in a very oversimplified way.
Oh, it's wonderful.
So, I was thinking we can sit down, we can watch some of that with our tribe, learn a little bit about history, things like that.
I love that.
Because realistically, at the end of the world, what the hell else is there to do? What are we going to do? Talk about Palladians and Arcturians and things like that are never going to come?
Right.
Talk about, 5D ascension portals that are never going to come?
Right.
We're literally just waiting for the freaking bomb to just drop.
Right.
And that's it. And so it's like, we've done our work. We've done everything. We might go to the Cecil. We might have a couple more little side quests to do here. There might be another ancient site that we need to go and hit. And, we'll figure that out as we go along. But, what else are we going to do? Let's just have fun and enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
And I hope that you've enjoyed our company this evening as we have enjoyed yours
tremendously.
So Thank you to all of our Patreons, patreon.com/BTV Tribe. You can check out the full shows there. Thank you to everybody that is here on YouTube. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And ultimately, kiss the one you love right now, because you never know when the last time is going to be. Anything for the little twin?
Just that I will kiss you often and always, and because you are so important to me in this matrix, and I understand even if we don't have that much time left, or even if we do, I want to take advantage of every moment that we have together.
I feel the same way.
And with our tribe too, I want to take advantage.
And that's the
of every
thing,
moment.
you know. My countdown clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are feeling that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I heard a voice the other day, and the voice was calling me by my real name, and it was saying blank evac.
Evac.
In 10.
In 10. 9.
9. 8. 7. 6.
Yep.
I'm being pulled out. I can feel it.
I can feel that too.
I think others are feeling it as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
It's a good thing, not a bad thing.
But that's why it's important for us to savor every moment, every experience, everything, right here, right now, while we have it.
We will.
So kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be, and we'll see you even further.
Beyond the veil.
Love you.
Love you guys.
Hey everyone, Chris Gio here. Just wanted to remind you that if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably getting a condensed version of the show. A link is going to pop up here on the left, taking you straight to patreon.com/BTV Tribe, where you can get the full shows. It's as little as $3 a month. And the reason is it helps us to overcome the YouTube censorship, the shadow banning, and also stay in touch with our BTV Tribe. See you